Right, so good evening everyone. Today we are going to begin with the topic Maratha administration. It is a very small topic. Basically, the idea is that, okay, if Marathas, they were the top power, then what was the internal structure or the internal rule in the Swarajya? Why? Because in Samrajya, different Maratha Sardars, they were ruling. So therefore, when you look at any of the text and you discuss the Maratha administration, that is the way Marathas were implementing their domestic policies. So therefore, it is not about Samrajya, it is about Swarajya, because there lies the central authority of Chhatrapati or the Peshwa, right? So when you talk about the Maratha administration, the aspect that we need to take care of is that, okay, how the provinces within the Swarajya were organized, that is how the states were organized, who could be governor, right? Then how did the Peshwa, he ensured different things, what was the judiciary like, what was the police like, what was the navy like, what was the military like, right? So therefore, briefly that we are going to discuss, right? So as we have discussed earlier, that Maratha Empire, it was divided into Swarajya. Swarajya, it is Maharashtra, and Samrajya, it is the area which is outside of Maharashtra, right? So उतना लिख लेते हैं beginning में. So write down. Maratha Empire was divided into Swarajya and Samrajya. Maratha Empire was divided into Swarajya and Samrajya. Swarajya and Samrajya. Next point, Swarajya dash, it was Maratha kingdom. Swarajya dash, it was Maratha kingdom set up by Chhatrapati Shivaji. It was Maratha kingdom set up by Chhatrapati Shivaji, Sen 480, with its capital at Satara. And after Shahu 1949, Peshwa became the effective ruler. After Shahu 1949, Peshwa became the effective ruler. After Shahu 1949, Peshwa became the effective ruler. As Shahu delegated too much power, to the Peshwa. Plus Shahu 1949 had an adopted son. And a treaty formally gave effective power to Peshwa. Right. So see, bloodline matters, and since adopted son was there, so therefore that also weakens the claim of the next Shahu. So he is next Chhatrapati. So he is recognized as Chhatrapati, but the real power, it is in the hands of the Peshwa. Peshwa was trusted too much, be it your Balaji Vishwanath from 1713 to 1720, be it Bajirao 1720 to 1740, or be it your Peshwa Nana Saheb 4061 from 1740 till 1749 when Shahu is dying. And because there is huge amount of trust between Peshwa and Shahu, so therefore Shahu delegated too much power, and everyone in the Maratha polity knew that whatever Peshwa is saying, that is actually the final word of the Chhatrapati as well. Why? Because very good relationship was there. It was not that Peshwa was overpowering Shahu. Shahu was an effective ruler, but because of huge trust with the Peshwa and the family, so therefore he delegated too much power. Right, and as a result, by the time Shahu died, the effective ruler was Peshwa, and then that was also given a formal shape, a legal shape, by signing a treaty between the Chhatrapati and the Peshwa, and that is why here you have what is written here: dominions of the Peshwa. right? Dominions of the Peshwa, right? What is the meaning of dominion? For example, in 1947, India did not get independence. India got dominion status. So when you are a dominion, that means you are part of the empire, right? So in a way, we can visualize the Maratha Empire as Chhatrapati is the ruler of the whole orange part, that is the Maratha Empire. This Swarajya, it is the dominion of the Peshwa, that it is being ruled by the Peshwa. And the Samrajya, it is the dominion of the four Maratha Sardars. Sindhya of Gwalior, Holkar of Indore, Gaikwad of Baroda, and Bhosle of Nagpur. Right? So it is like you can imagine that there is one, one ruler which is Chhatrapati, and below him equal power centers in the form of Peshwa and the four Maratha Sardars. Right? So that's why in the map here it is written dominions of the Peshwa. This is your head office of Peshwa was at Pune. So here you have Satara and here there is Pune, right? So therefore, Peshwa he ruled. He had his office in the Pune, right? So that's the importance of Pune. So write down next. Peshwa's capital was Pune. Peshwa's capital was Pune. Peshwa's capital was Pune. And his secretariat was called Hazur Daftar. And his secretariat was called Hazur Daftar. Daftar means office, Hazur means boss. So boss ka office, Hazur Daftar. Next point, Samrajya dash. It was territory outside Maharashtra. Brought into Maratha Empire by Maratha Sardars. Therefore was controlled by Maratha Sardars. Who ruled Samrajya autonomously. Therefore was controlled by Maratha Sardars who ruled Samrajya autonomously. Full stop. However, they did not set up effective rule on ground. In whole of Samrajya. That means the territory it is under your control, but you are not implementing policies at the ground level. You are not stationing your officials at the ground level to handle the day-to-day administration, right? So therefore, it is under your control, yes, but effective rule is not there on the ground, and this is a negative. If the Marathas they want to rule whole of India, that means in the whole of India they expect that their rule should be there in the day-to-day administration on the ground. Then this is a negative which is there. So bracket में स्टार लगा के लिखिए a negative at the rate project of Marathas ruling whole of India. A negative at the rate project of Marathas ruling whole of India. As effective rule not present, even in whole of Maratha Empire. As effective rule not present even in whole of Maratha Empire. As effective rule not present even in whole of Maratha Empire. Brackets closed. So therefore, if you have not established the effective rule in the whole of Maratha Empire, then answering the question that whether Marathas could have established rule in whole of India at the ground level, right, that becomes a distant milestone. Ruling is different, conquest is different, right? Conquest तो बहुत आसानी से हो जाता. Since 1752 Mughal emperor was under the control of the Marathas. They could have easily declared that we are the emperor. But declaring that you are the emperor and establishing your effective rule, these are two different things, right? So from that perspective, we are saying that somewhere there was this lacuna which was present. ठीक है ना? So next point. Peshwa had a council of 12 ministers. Peshwa had a council of 12 ministers. Peshwa had a council of 12 ministers. So earlier we had mentioned Nana Fadnis when we introduced the hierarchy of the Peshwas. So Nana Fadnis in 1774, he removed Raghunath Rao 7374 in Bar Bhai conspiracy. Bar Bhai, Bar, Bara, Bhai, brothers, 12 ministers. So these 12 ministers of the Peshwa, they came together and overthrew Peshwa Raghunath Rao because he had taken power by forcefully removing, by getting Narayan Rao killed. There are controversies and different opinions, right? Some texts they say that Raghunath Rao did not want Narayan Rao to get killed. He only wanted to, control him, imprison him, or something like this. And it was unintended that Narayan Rao got killed. But intent does not matter. Ultimately, what matters is that within the family there is factionalism, and Uncle Raghunath Rao wants to get rid of Narayan Rao. In the process, he got killed. So therefore, at least a conspiracy to overthrow him was there, और ये proof है factionalism का, right? Next point. Swarajya was divided into sarkars. Swarajya was divided into sarkars / provinces. Swarajya was divided into sarkars / provinces. और जो रूलर होता है प्रोविंस का उसको क्या बोलते हैं? गवर्नर बोलते हैं. ठीक है. एंड ऑफिस ऑफ गवर्नर, स्वराज्य was divided into sarkars / provinces, and office of governor was auctioned. Office of governor was auctioned. Office of governor was auctioned. Auction means the person who is the highest bidder, he can become governor. So therefore you pay money. Whichever person is willing to pay highest amount of money, you can become a chief minister. That is a governor, right? Obviously, it is an investment for you, and any person who becomes the governor, he would want return on investment. So therefore, governor would be having some share of the land revenue which is collected from that particular sarkar or from that particular province, right? And some agreed percentage will be there that if you have invested 100 rupees to become the governor, then you can get 120 rupees or 115 rupees as your net revenue, but so therefore 15 or 25 rupees will become your return on investment. And so that cheating is not there. This system was there of dual reporting. So Peshwa is there at the top. Below him, multiple governors are there, right? These governors will be having multiple Deshmukhs under them, right? And therefore these Deshmukhs, they are collectors of revenue. Like in the north, there is Zamidars. Similarly, these people are the collectors of revenue, or primarily land revenue. At the ground level, they will be submitting the books of accounts to the governor, and governor will be keeping his share and transferring books of accounts as well as your money to the Peshwa. Now, Peshwa was also directly in touch with the Deshmukhs. So therefore, Deshmukhs, they will also give the books of accounts, that is Khata, Hisab, to the Peshwa, and then Peshwa can compare the books which are submitted by the governor with the books which are submitted by the Deshmukhs, and therefore compare that whether governor is doing any hanky-panky or any cheating or any corruption, right? So that he is honest. So this is a system of checks and balance which is there, that your boss is also in talks with your junior, and therefore if you try to cheat your boss, then your junior, he can tell. So this kind of scenario it is being set up. So write down, there existed a system of checks and balances. There existed a system of checks and balances on governor. there existed a system of checks and balances on governor. There existed a system of checks and balances on governor. As Deshmukhs slash revenue collectors, as Deshmukhs slash revenue collectors had dual reporting, as Deshmukhs slash revenue collectors had dual reporting to the governor as well as the Peshwa. To the governor as well as the Peshwa. Therefore, enabling Peshwa to the governor as well as the Peshwa. therefore enabling Peshwa to verify. Therefore, enabling Peshwa to verify books of accounts. Therefore, enabling Peshwa to verify books of accounts submitted by governor. Therefore, enabling Peshwa to verify or cross-check books of accounts submitted by the governor. So, governor is giving one kind of calculation and accordingly the money, and Deshmukh's books of accounts, they will be showing some other kind of calculation, and therefore governor, he can be held accountable that why there is a difference in the calculation, right? That is a next item. So this is at the province level. At the village level, villages will be there. So at the village level, who was the head of the village? The village headman. His name was called Patil. So today these are all surnames. For example, in the Maharashtra politics, you will be find Deshmukhs, right? Similarly, or Deshmukhs will be there, Patils will be there, Kulkarnis will be there. Kulkarnis, they were account keepers. So they are the people who maintain accounts, and they serve Deshmukhs, right? And they also serve Patil at the village level. Patils, they were village head, and Patils, they were responsible. They had concentration of power at the village level. That means if any law and order situation is there, who is the responsible? Patil. If any judicial thing is there, who is responsible? Panchayat will be responsible. But apart from that, if any judicial case is there regarding, let's say, revenue or taxes, so who has the judicial power? Patils, right? So Patils, and who is the mini collector at the village level? Who is the administrator at the village level? Patil. So therefore, he had all powers: executive power, police powers, judicial powers. He had all powers, right? And these people, they had Vatan rights. That means if I belong to family of Patils, then my family is going to be the village head. And this is a Vatan right, that means it cannot be taken up by anyone. Deshmukhs, they also had what you call as your Vatan rights. That is, area under a Deshmukh can be increased or decreased. But koi usse ye hak nahi chhin sakta. No one can take away this right that Deshmukh, you will not be, your family will not be collecting land revenue. Right? So Vatan right holders were there at the ground level. This will have an impact in our future talk, and the impact is that since power, it is basically it is symbolic that power is not properly centralized even within the Swarajya. What is our talk? We are saying that, see, with respect to the Maratha Empire, the central power is what? Peshwa, or let's say Chhatrapati. But we are saying, we began by saying that in Samrajya, Chhatrapati की नहीं चलती है, in Samrajya, Peshwa की नहीं चलती है. In Samrajya, it is not the Peshwa or the Chhatrapati which have the effective rule, it is the Maratha Sardars. That means, can we say that if Marathas are represented by Chhatrapati or by Peshwa, then this central authority has no actual authority in the Samrajya? That means, can we say that the central authority does not have 100% power, it has 70% power or 60% power? Right? Or maybe 50% power, something like this. Then we zoom into Swarajya, and there also we see that even in Swarajya, ऐसा नहीं है that Peshwa can easily ignore the Deshmukhs, can easily ignore the Patils. Why? Because they have Vatan rights, right? And ऐसा नहीं है that Peshwa can remove any Deshmukh at any point of time randomly, or remove a Patil at any point of time randomly. नहीं, उसके हाथ बंधे हुए, his hands are tied. And there were these local bodies or local organizations of the Deshmukhs and the Patils who used to exert influence. They used to argue with the Peshwa ki nahi, you cannot take this decision like this. You cannot change the land revenue like this. You cannot change the land revenue collection method like this. This should be the survey at the ground level, right, etc., etc. So you see, power was not 100% centralized in the Peshwa, even within Swarajya. And if I look at the whole Maratha Empire, then power is not centralized in the Peshwa, because Samrajya, it is not under the rule of the Peshwa, right? So therefore, a strong, properly 100% strong center could not develop. And a proper 100% strong center is very, very important for someone aspiring to be a ruler. हम क्या बोलते हैं, मतलब today for example can we say that the central government of India is the ruler of whole of India with respect to, let's say, indirect taxes, because GST has been brought. So one nation, one tax, right? Decent amount of say is there of the central government. GST council is there, but still central government has decent amount of say, right? So therefore, plus if central government wants to bring any law with respect to, let's say, center list, in the 7th schedule, there is center list, state list, concurrent list, right? If the center government wants to bring any law with respect to any subject in the center list, it will be implemented very swiftly throughout India. So therefore, can we say that at least with respect to the center list, the center, it is having decent amount of power, or literally 100% power, right? The whole machinery is there. So therefore, a strong center. So therefore, then we can say that the government of India, or the government of Union of India, Union money center of India, is ruler of whole of India. Because whatever policies and laws and rules it makes with respect to the central subject, they will be implemented on the ground. No ifs and buts. So therefore, you see, a strong center is very important if we are dealing with the question that whether Marathas, they could have become an all India ruler on the ground. Conqueror to the, but ruler on the ground could they become? Right? So therefore, ये थोड़ा सा nuanced topic है, थोड़ा सा fluid kind of है, but समझने के हिसाब से ऐसा है. We can compare it with the present scenario, and then we can think about that whether it is the effective ruler or not. Right? So this kind of scenario. So write down Patils. हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हाँ, tenure would be there obviously. मतलब अभी तो मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा, बट यू कैन सर्च ऑन गूगल, कोई ना कोई टेन्योर तो रहेगा ही. इट विल नॉट बी परमानेंट और समथिंग लाइक दिस, राइट? बट उतना डिटेल में नहीं जाना है, हमें थोड़ा सा ऊपर ऊपर से देखना है इसको, ठीक है? अंटिल अनलेस यू आर इनटू द ऑप्शनल पार्ट, इसको थोड़ा ऊपर ऊपर से देखना है, ठीक है ना? पाटिल स्लैश विलेज हेडमैन, पाटिल स्लैश विलेज हेडमैन and Deshmukhs slash revenue collectors and Deshmukhs slash revenue collectors had Vatan rights. Vatan mane hereditary. Had Vatan rights. Patils and Deshmukhs had Vatan rights. Next point, Patils were responsible for executive. Patils were responsible for executive, police, judicial, and revenue functions. Judicial and revenue functions at village level. Revenue functions at village level. Revenue functions at village level. Therefore, concentration of power. Therefore, concentration of power in Patil. Therefore, concentration of power in Patil. Therefore, concentration of power in Patil. What do you mean by concentration of power? There is a concept of separation of power. Opposite of that is the concept of concentration of power. Separation of power, it means executive separate from judiciary, separate from legislature. And when you say concentration of power, that means all of these functions, they are in the hands of one particular entity, and therefore concentration of power. Right? He is extra powerful. Right? Next point, sources of revenue. Sources of revenue were sources of revenue were. So this point is very, very simple. So we are in agrarian economy at this point of time. So major source of revenue will be land revenue, right? Apart from this, और क्या हो सकते हैं? For example, if someone is manufacturing Ayurvedic drugs, he would require a license, and for getting that license, he would have to pay some money. He would have to pay some fees, license fees. He would have to pay, right? So this is one of the aspects. For example, someone wants to, wants to be ONGC, right? So what will be the ONGC of that time? It is the firewood, which is the fuel, right? So therefore, the government will, sell licenses of cutting woods in the forests, right? So therefore, you are a license holder, and therefore you are going to have access to the forest. Your men, they can cut wood from trees, and accordingly you can sell in the market, right? So therefore, such kind of licenses can be there. And then Maharashtra ऐसे ही नहीं है financial capital of India, right? Money was there for everything, legal money, not rishwat, legal money, right? For example, today if you lose your phone, right, and if you go to police, and then you're like, sir, I have lost my phone, right? Usually तो पुलिस नहीं ढूंढती है, ठीक है, इसको उनके पास और important काम है, ठीक है. But fine, let's say they are able to find the phone, and after that you're like, thanks a lot, okay, tata, bye bye. But that is not the case in the case of Maratha administration. There the policemen, they will hold you and they're like, bhai, there is nothing for free, okay, we have provided you a service, right? So where is our Nazrana? And that is legal money, not illegal money. But if you are taking service, police service of the police, then you have to pay some money. Similarly, for example, you have taken judicial service. You have some kind of a land dispute, and you go to the court and you say that this person has taken over some of your land. Now a proper court case is there. The judge gives the decision that you are right and he is wrong, right? So therefore, then it's not like you can simply say thank you, okay, tata, bye bye. The person who has lost the case, he will pay jurmana, that you have wasted court's time. Pay some jurmana, that is, pay some fine. And the person who is victorious, अरे भाई मिठाई तो खिलाओ, है, नजराना. Nazrana from the victorious party, Jurmana from the losing party, right? So therefore, these are the different proceeds which are coming to the government. This is the income of the government, right? Taxes on domestic trade will be there, obviously, right? So if you are a merchant and you are making a profit, so आपको tax देना पड़ेगा, right? So please write down. Sources of revenue were dash LR. LR means land revenue. LR plus taxes on trade. LR plus taxes on trade plus license fees. LR plus taxes on trade plus license fees. In brackets, example, for cutting woods, comma, manufacturing drugs. ये ड्रग्स मतलब वो ऐसा वो शाहरुख खान वाला नहीं. ड्रग्स आर ऑल्सो, मेडिसिन आर ऑल्सो कॉल्ड ड्रग्स, राइट? तो ऐसा नहीं कि मतलब मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ड्रग्स, राइट? कटिंग वुड्स, कॉमा, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ड्रग्स, एटसेट्रा, ब्रैकेट्स क्लोज. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ड्रग्स, एटसेट्रा, ब्रैकेट्स क्लोज. प्लस जुडिशियल प्रोसीड्स, प्लस जुडिशियल प्रोसीड्स. Proceeds of, जैसे एक word use होता है, there is this Prevention of Money Laundering Act, right? And there is a legal concept called proceeds of crime. So proceeds of crime means the money which you have generated by doing a crime. So proceeds, it means money, right? Judicial proceeds means money which is coming from judicial services provided by the state. Judicial proceeds in form of Nazrana from victorious party, Nazrana from victorious party, and Jurmana from losing party. Nazrana from victorious party and Jurmana from losing party. Acha, let's say there is a government which is having pro-farmer policies, right? Let's say there is a government which is making some canals so that the farmers are able to get irrigation. Irrigation माने पानी, water. They are able to get water to their fields, right? Or let's say some government of India scheme is there which is distributing fertilizers to the farmers, right? So one of the objective is obviously peasant welfare, that is helping the farmers have more income. Is there any other positive byproduct of this connected to our point that we were discussing? Very good. Land revenue will also increase, right? If farmers are able to produce more, then the government also benefits in the form of greater tax collection. So usually in the modern times when we are discussing ease of doing business, ease of doing business, ease of doing business, usually our focus is that okay, the businesses they will be able to do better. But what is the positive of ease of doing business for the government? Negative is for the bureaucracy. You're not able to feel like a my baap anymore, right? But the positive is for the government, for the state. That is, as the incomes of the businesses increase, the tax payment by the businesses also increases. And therefore, the government has more money in its kitty to do multiple things or to money for the different welfare schemes, right? So write down, further to increase revenue and peasant welfare, further, comma, to increase revenue and peasant welfare, to increase revenue and peasant welfare, डैश, ये गिर जाएगा थोड़ी देर में, आज की क्लास में गिरने वाला है पक्का, ये जो तुम तामझाम बना रखा ना यहाँ पे, ये गिरेगा ही गिरेगा, बहुत सारी क्लासेस का एक्सपीरियंस है, ठीक है? तो इसको एक काम करो, इसको मतलब कुछ या तो यहाँ लगा लो, ठीक है, नहीं तो इसका कुछ जुगाड़ करो, ये गिरने वाला बहुत जल्दी, ठीक है? और अभी मैंने टोक और नजर तो लगाई दी है ना। Anyway. एक दूसरे बैच में देयर इज अ स्टूडेंट, मैं हैरान रह गया, मतलब विद वन हैंड ही इज राइटिंग एंड इन द अदर हैंड इट्स लाइक आई थॉट दैट ही हैज कम टू सेल पेन्स, मतलब ऐसा ऐसा मतलब यू नो 10 पेन्स ही हैज, यू नो, एंड देन ही इज लाइक कुछ सीखो, ये हाथ में पकड़ लो या तो। एनीवेज, डैश डैम्स एंड कैनाल्स वर बिल्ट, dash dams and canals were built, dams and canals were built, plus loans given at cheap interest rates, dams and canals were built plus loans given at cheap interest rates, loans given at cheap interest rates, बैग में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, लिंक लिंक, किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड स्कीम, लिंक किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड स्कीम, कॉमा, लिंक किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड स्कीम, कॉमा, रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स स्लैश आरआरबीज, रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स स्लैश आरआरबीज अंडर नबार्ड, आरआरबीज अंडर नबार्ड, NABARD, NABARD, RRBs under NABARD, and priority lending and priority lending and priority lending by priority lending by SCBs, scheduled commercial banks like ICICI, SDFC, priority lending by SCBs and cooperative banks and cooperative banks and NBFCs and cooperative banks and NBFCs, cooperative banks and NBFCs, non-banking financial companies, NBFCs. नहीं, brackets close. So what we are trying to tell you is that it's just, see, whenever you are studying history, if you are able to connect it with your randomly, if you are able to connect with something which you are reading in your current affairs, so दिमाग ज़्यादा चलता है. Otherwise, we keep studying in silos. So therefore, for example, today, this is just a random thing, right? So linkage, it means that today, when you're studying budget, when you're studying economic survey, right? So therefore, what is the government of India is today doing for providing loans at cheap interest rates to the farmers? The government of India is doing all of these things, right? Reserve Bank of India, it has the control of the scheduled commercial banks. उनको बोला हुआ है, that some of the sectors, even if they are not very what you call as green sectors for you, very profitable sectors for you, but there you have to prioritize that you have to give some amount of loan, right? Similarly, for example, kisan credit card scheme is also there, right? Uske baad budget mein loan waivers aata hai bahut baar. Plus there is a regulator like Reserve Bank of India is there. Similarly, there is NABARD, right? NABARD. Under NABARD, there are regional rural banks who are primarily there to cater to the needs of the poor sections of the society at the ground level, which includes peasants, right? So basically, ऐसे ही हम सोचें अगर that in today's time, who gives loans or which particular institutions are giving loans at cheap interest rates to the peasants, right? So therefore, all of these are the institutions. There is participation of the private sector in the form of scheduled commercial banks and the what you call as the NBFCs, non-banking finance companies, and the state is also present on the ground in the form of NABARD and the RRBs and the cooperative banks. And cooperative banks, they are basically voluntary. We all are farmers, we came together, we set up a cooperative bank, right? So you see, with respect to giving loans, the private sector is being made to work by the government itself is working, and organizations of the farmers, they are themselves also pooling money and giving loans. That is the cooperative movement or the cooperative society, right? So see, this is how your mind should work. कोई भी प्रॉब्लम है उसको सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट सॉल्व नहीं कर. व्हाट इज गुड गवर्नेंस? दिस इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ गुड गवर्नेंस. आज के टाइम पे देयर इज एनी प्रॉब्लम, गुड गवर्नेंस मींस नॉट जस्ट द गवर्नमेंट बट द प्राइवेट सेक्टर एज वेल एज द सिविल सोसाइटी, they will work in tandem with each other, and providing credit to the poor peasant is one such area where we see participation of all of these three, right? This kind of scenario, right? Anyways, that मैं हमको लिंक करके पढ़ना चाहिए वैसे ऐसे ऐसा, इसका कोई इस वाले टॉपिक से कोई लिंक नहीं है. इट इज जस्ट लाइक टू क्रिएट अ थिंकिंग एनवायरमेंट. नेक्स्ट, ऑल्सो देयर वाज इफेक्टिव सुपरविजन. Also there was effective supervision. Also there was effective supervision of revenue collectors. Also there was effective supervision of revenue collectors. So they do not oppress peasants. So they do not oppress peasants. Also there was effective supervision of revenue collectors. So they do not oppress peasants. ठीक. Next heading write down judicial administration. मतलब within the Maratha judicial administration. Judicial administration. Heading 1, next point, judicial administration. उसके कुछ sub points होंगे. So what was the judiciary like at the time period of Marathas? Judicial administration. See, and here you need to keep in mind the concepts of separation of power. Right. So in democracy, there is concept of separation of power. That is, judiciary should be independent from the executive. Why? Because many of the grievances are generated by the actions or the decisions taken by the executive. And if executive is also the judiciary, then you become a judge in your own case. Many of the grievances, many of the court cases are not just between you and you. There can be court cases which are between you and the government, right? So many of the executive decisions and executive policies, they create court cases. And if executive itself is the judge, then it is a judge in its own case. And obviously, then the chances of justice delivery, they will be very low. There is conflict of interest. So therefore, separation of power, it is a concept of modern polity. It is a concept of enlightenment. Enlightenment ideas, political ideas that led to modern system of governance, right? 17th century and 18th century, separation of power, right? But in the pre-democracy times or the pre-modern times, such concepts are not there. So therefore, who is the judge, top judge? The ruler or the emperor or the Peshwa in this case. Who is the top executive? Who is the Pradhan Mantri? The Peshwa. Who is the lawmaker? The Peshwa. Concentration of power. Concentration of power. Right? And so therefore, this is how it is. So who will be the top judge? Who will be the Chief Justice of Maharashtra? The Peshwa. Right? At the state level, it would be the governor. Right? At the village level, it would be the Panchayat. Okay. So therefore, ये चीज है. Another thing is, there is another hallmark of India, and that is autonomy of the Panchayats. Somehow this thing has been there since the tens of thousands of years, that the Panchayats at the ground level, they have been able to stay autonomous. and ruler चाहे कितना भी strong हो, right, he has respected the autonomy of the panchayats. That's why, for example, in Haryana, you have Khap panchayats even today. Although in the media, they are shown in a negative light many times, but otherwise, they act as a very important pressure group, right? And since thousands of years, they have been able to preserve their autonomy, right? चाहे अब्दाली आया हो, चाहे नादिर शाह आया हो, चाहे मुगल्स आए हो, चाहे कोई भी आया हो, right? North India, for example, they are able to preserve. Similarly, in South India also, panchayats, right? So therefore, Peshwa will be respecting the judicial decisions of the panchayat as far as possible. And if any court case comes to him, he will be overturning the decision of the panchayat in rarest of rare case. Why? Because he wants to respect the traditional feature of panchayat level autonomy. Right? So until unless grave injustice has been done, well, he will try from his side the decision of the panchayat is upheld. Right? In the spirit of respecting the village level autonomy. Right? So this thing it is there. Nazrana, Jurmana, we have already covered. Right? So write down. A clear hierarchy existed. A clear hierarchy. Hierarchy means this level, this level, this level. Right? A clear hierarchy. A clear hierarchy existed from village panchayats. A clear hierarchy existed from village panchayats up to the Peshwa. A clear hierarchy existed from village panchayats up to the Peshwa. And final decision was of Peshwa. And final decision was of Peshwa. Full stop. However, as far as possible, final decision was of Peshwa. However, as far as possible, he respected. However, as far as possible, he respected decision of village panchayats. As far as possible, he respected decision of village panchayats. Decision of village panchayats. Decision of village panchayats. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए. लिंक. क्या क्या लिंक कर सकते हैं? For example, later on we'll discuss a Mehelwari system of revenue settlement of the Britishers. Right? In that system, the land revenue was, for example, let's say we are all villagers. We are all villagers. So therefore, in that system, they decided that we'll not be telling Mr. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H individually that you have to pay X amount of money, you have to pay Y amount of money, you have to pay Z amount of money, etc., etc. We are going to tell the village as a whole. We are going to tell the village as a whole that you have to give 100 rupees of land revenue. Right? And because in Mehelwari system, the Britishers, they respected the village autonomy. So therefore, they left it upon the villagers under their Mukhia or village headman to decide that what will be the individual contribution of each member of the village. There they are not interfering. So we are all a village, right? And the Britishers, they want 100 rupees from us in form of land revenue. That's it. अब हम अपनी मीटिंग करेंगे, we will decide कि अच्छा किसके पास कैसी जमीन है, who has what kind of land, irrigated land, good quality land, and accordingly as a community we are going to decide the individual contribution of each. The government is not going to tell the individual contribution of each. We are going to decide the individual contribution of each. Government is going to tell village level contribution. Right? So this system is there today also. For example, let's say there is a market of shopkeepers. Right? The government can say, well, to खैर चलो GST आ गया, but slightly some decades back, government can say that see from this particular market we want this much amount of money. How much individually you want to pay, you decide. Your association can be there, you decide. Right? So this kind of scenario it can be there. Right? Similarly, for example, if you look at the Constitution of India, then there is this, I think कौन सा है 73rd constitutional amendment is there. 73rd ही है क्या पंचायती राज institutions वाला 73rd है ना. So like for example panchayati raj institutions, their autonomy has been respected by the Constitution of India as well. Their constitution has been their autonomy has been respected by the Constitution of India as well. Then you have fifth schedule areas, and there is an act called fifth schedule areas. They are the tribal regions of central India. Sixth schedule areas are the tribal regions of the northeast India. Right? In the fifth schedule areas, right, so for the fifth schedule and the sixth schedule, autonomy at the ground level is more respected. And there is something called PISA Act, Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act for 5th scheduled areas of central India. Right. So you see, in the form of 5th scheduled areas, in the form of 6th scheduled areas, again there are elements in the Constitution of India whereby we try to respect the autonomy at the ground level. Right. So therefore, can we say that the village level autonomy, and then there is phenomenon of khap panchayats, right, in North India. So therefore, can we say that since traditional times till modern times, the autonomy of the villages, it has been a feature which has been respected by the modern constitution and which was respected through tradition by the rulers, example Peshwa. Even the Britishers, they respected it, right? So therefore, this is how we can utilize current affairs plus history for our essay. Just in case if any such statement comes with respect to decentralization of power or with respect to the power to the ground level, right? So therefore, what all can we write? So in essay, we need to borrow from the different subjects and then try to prepare some kind of a recipe to give a 360-degree view of that particular concept, right? And so bracket में स्टार लगा के लिखते हैं, मतलब this is the purpose of writing this bracket में स्टार लगा के, that we should go beyond history, we should learn how to study for UPSC and not just history, तो बस एक बहाना है, right? So bracket में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, link dash महलवारी system, महलवारी MAHALVARI, महल palace, वारी WARI, महलवारी system of LR settlement, Mehlwari system of LR settlement, Mehlwari system of LR settlement, respected village autonomy, respected village autonomy. हम इसको डिटेल में बाद में डिस्कस करें, तो वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू राइट द डिटेल्स विच आई एक्सप्लेन्ड वर्बली टू यू, यू विल बी एबल टू लिंक लेटर ऑन. प्लस COI plus COI, Constitution of India, plus COI has 73rd Amendment for PRIs, Panchayati Raj institutions. COI has 73rd Amendment for PRIs, comma, 5th schedule, and PISA Act, comma, 6th schedule and its autonomous districts. Autonomous districts. Autonomous districts. Therefore, autonomous districts. Plus, therefore, नहीं plus. MG, Mahatma Gandhi, MG, plus MG, Mahatma Gandhi, MG, wanted India to be summation of village republics. 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 Therefore, from Indian rulers to British rule, therefore from Indian rulers to British rule, to INM means Indian National Movement, therefore from Indian rulers to British rule, to INM, and up to independent India, autonomy at grassroots levels, an important recognized feature of Indian society. Autonomy at grassroots level, an important feature of Indian society. Autonomy at grassroots levels, an important feature of Indian society. Brackets closed. Right? So this is like, just think be a thing, right? अच्छा, next component क्या होता है? So we have simply mentioned that who will be the judge, right? But judge, while adjudicating any case, he has to refer to any law, right? So therefore law, it acts as a test that whether this particular act is in line with the law or it is in contravention of the law, right? So in the modern times we have Indian Penal Code, we have CRPC, IPC, these codes are there, right, for the procedural part. Then we have different laws, right, which are there to decide that what is right and what is wrong. In the pre-modern times there was religious law. Religion used to decide what is right and what is wrong. So if it is Islamic rule, right, Islamic rulers, they followed Sharia law, right? And if it is Hindu rule, there they followed Hindu law. Example, Dharma Shastras. So therefore what is right and what is wrong, it is decided by the Dharma Shastras. So therefore ancient religious texts, they were used as law by the judges to decide any case, right? So today we have Constitution of India and the laws made under the Constitution of India, whereby the government, whereby the judges decide that what is right and what is wrong. In those times it used to be the religious texts which used to be referred to, and therefore there would be role of pandits with respect to interpretation of that religious text ki kya theek hai kya galat hai, right? So write down next point, ancient, हाँ जी, civil as well as criminal, both. What is the meaning of the criminal? For example, if any crime has taken place where some physical hurt is there or something like that, right? So therefore that is criminal law. Civil law, it means, for example, something which is related to family property disputes or succession disputes, inheritance disputes, divorce, marriages, relationship between parents and child, right? So these things, they are decided by the civil law, right? So for both, right, for both, right? In the case of Mughals, with respect to the criminal law, they used to follow Sharia. And with respect to civil law, it depended that what is the community like. So if Hindus, you are Hindu, and you are having some dispute in the court, Hindu law will be utilized. And if you are a Muslim and you are a Muslim in the domain of civil law, then Islamic law will operate. But in criminal law, crime, for example, if someone has committed a murder, then it does not matter whether you are a Hindu or you are a Muslim, crime is crime, because that is a secular domain. Criminal law is a secular domain. It does not matter what religion you belong to. You have committed a financial fraud, for example, with anyone else. How does it matter whether you are a Hindu or you are a Muslim? So therefore there, because the rulers were Islamic rulers, therefore they deployed Sharia law. But in civil disputes, that is family disputes, right, they applied the law of that community. If the Hindu family is having some dispute within each other, then Hindu law will apply. If Muslim family has some disputes within each other, then Islamic law will apply. But if it is something which is public or which is in the secular domain, then they applied the Sharia law. Right, we'll discuss it when we discuss the East India Company's administration. तब हम इस बात पे जिक्र करेंगे. But right now, in the context of Marathas, for both civil as well as criminal law, ancient Hindu religious texts, they are serving as the law. Right? अभी इसको लिख लो. Ancient religious texts acted as law. Ancient religious texts acted as law. Ancient religious texts acted as law. Texts acted as law. Example, Dharma Shastras. Example, Dharma Shastras. Example, Dharma Shastras, etc. So there is not one law, but multiple Hindu religious texts can be there. Yes, someone was asking anything? एक ही केस में, if one party is a Hindu party, one party is a Muslim party, so therefore nothing is written in the books, but I think then you would bring together what you call as a Maulvi, right, and or a Mufti, who is a, plus you will also bring a Pandit, right, and you will try to find some common ground, because focus used to be on compromise कि कोई middle path अगर निकल पाए तो. ऐसा inter religion marriages, ठीक है, तो वैसा वाला सिविल लॉ में कुछ प्रॉपर्टी डिस्प्यूट वगैरह होगा तो उस प्रकार से देखा जाएगा. नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन. देयर वाज रूल ऑफ लॉ. देयर वाज रूल ऑफ लॉ. देयर वाज रूल ऑफ लॉ as even the highest authorities. There was rule of law as even the highest authorities and men of money. There was rule of law as even the highest authorities and men of money were punished. There was rule of law as even the highest authorities and men of money were punished. So this point is self-explanatory, right? That means your influence, it is not working, right? So rule of law, right? Next, policing was as effective. Policing, police, policing was as effective as London police. Policing was as effective as London police. So therefore, if today you are from Maharashtra and you feel proud of Mumbai police, for example, so therefore it is since the time period of Marathas itself, the police is very, very effective at information collection, prevention of crime. So therefore, their network of spies and all of these things, it was as effective as London police, right? And this is written in the books, right? So ऐसा कुछ हंसने का जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है? And if you laughed, that means it is nothing but some kind of a colonial mentality. That's why you laughed. In fact, we should say London police was as effective as Maratha police, right? As simple as that, right? Anyways, policing was as effective as London police with a very good network, with a very good network, with a very good network of information collection, with a very good network of information collection. And there existed rule of law, and there existed rule of law, and there existed rule of law. Next point write down Maratha military dash first sub point. Maratha military dash first sub point. So this is fairly simple point. Maratha military dash first sub point. See with this अभी तक जो हमने पढ़ा है उसके बेसिस पे हमने क्या पढ़ा है? Once I mentioned that Marathas they had their hallmark tactic is guerrilla warfare tactic. That is surprise attacks, very fast attacks, fast movement, surprise the enemy, do a big damage, return. For doing that, so therefore with respect to tactic, we can easily mention the guerrilla warfare tactics. For doing this, we require speed. Speed will come through what? Horses at this point of time, right? And therefore focus on light cavalry needs to be there, right? Heavy cavalry is you have 5 horses. One horse is carrying your 1 month of ration, another horse is carrying your 1 month of clothing, another horse is carrying your weapons, additional weapons, right? And therefore you are very, very heavy and you are moving therefore very, very slow. If you are going to have such kind of a system, then you will not be able to do the guerrilla warfare tactics. Marathas, they used to travel light. Marathas, they used to travel light, and they would have, if they need anything, they will take it on the way. Right? For that, request is required, or looting is required, or anything, they'll do it. So food is required, so they'll get on the way, right? Anything else they require, they'll get on the way, right? So light cavalry. So what is the biggest, strongest part of the Maratha army? It is the horsemen, right? And light cavalry, right? So this the infantry was there, but it was not the major tool. Major tool was horse-led army. Right? Navy was also there. For example, we have mentioned one sentence earlier that 1736 Ethiopian Muslims, right, and Portuguese, they were removed by the Marathas. So therefore, that means they had okay kind of naval power, right? In fact, some texts they also mention Chhatrapati Shivaji as father of Indian Navy, aisa karke, and recently the flag has also been changed, right? So therefore, but obviously no comparison with the European navies. Right, Portuguese they are weak right now in the 1700s. So you cannot compare the Maratha Navy with the, for example, British Navy. So British were the naval power at world level. You cannot compare Maratha Navy with the Dutch, right? So they are a naval power at the world level, right? So, but yeah, decent kind of navy. For example, they used to do trade with China also, right? So don't be surprised. For example, if this is your India, right? Maratha Empire, it is, for example, here, and Samrajya, it is like this. Right? So therefore, from here, through the Bay of Bengal, they can travel towards China. Right? So they used to do merchant trade or financial trade, import-export with China also. Right? So therefore, इस प्रकार से उनका है. तो simple point है, इसमें कुछ complexity नहीं है. हाँ जी. हाँ हाँ, गवर्नमेंट लेड पुलिस है, इलीगल मनी नहीं है, नजराना, नजराना इज अ लीगल मनी, इट इज लाइक अ फी यू आर पेइंग, इट इज लाइक अ फी यू आर पेइंग, गवर्नमेंट के टैक्स में जाएगा, इट इज लीगल, उनकी जेब में जाता तो इलीगल हो जाता ना, है ना, उनकी जेब में नहीं जा रहा, लीगल है, राइट। अ मेजर फोर्स वाज, फर्स्ट पॉइंट, मेजर फोर्स वाज हॉर्स माउंटेड आर्मी, मेजर फोर्स वाज हॉर्स माउंटेड आर्मी, major force was horse mounted army with focus on light cavalry, major force was horse mounted army with focus on light cavalry, with focus on light cavalry. That was important, that was important, that was important for Marathas, for Marathas, guerrilla warfare tactics, that was important for Marathas, guerrilla warfare tactics, that was important for Marathas, guerrilla warfare tactics. मैंने शायद से लास्ट टाइम डबल आर लिखवा दिया, एनीवेज स्पेलिंग देख लो, गुरिल्ला वॉरफेयर टैक्टिक्स, गुरिल्ला वॉरफेयर टैक्टिक्स, which was a highly effective strategy, which was a highly effective strategy, which was a highly effective strategy, highly effective strategy of surprising the enemy, of surprising the enemy, of surprising the enemy with swift attacks, surprising the enemy with swift attacks, with swift attacks, therefore creating shock and awe, therefore creating shock and awe, therefore creating shock and awe. Awe, it means that you are overwhelmed, कि पता नहीं चला क्या हुआ, कोई आया थप्पड़ मार के चला गया, राइट। मैंने एक प्लान सोचा था मैंने, राइट। सो प्लान मैंने क्या सोचा, मतलब बेसिकली व्हेन वी आर मतलब ठीक है, यू बिकम मैच्योर, बट व्हेन यू स्टार्ट यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन, राइट, यू आर you have this youth kind of mind, the UPSC preparation over a period of time mellows you down, makes you more mature, right? Trust me, UPSC preparation is one of the best thing which will take place in your life, right? Your mind will change, you'll become a man, and you'll become a woman, right? From the mind perspective, right? From the mind perspective, you'll become very mature. For example, my immature thoughts, I wanted to take revenge from some people, right? Everyone wants to, right? So therefore, I had developed a strategy, right? And the strategy was that randomly, right, without telling anyone, without giving anyone any army, right, there is going to be a bike where I'll hire 2 people, right? And these people, they will travel and they will nothing, find that particular person who I want to take revenge from, slap him and run away. That's it, nothing more, right? Randomly again after 1 week, right, slap and run away, and continue to do this for whole 1 year. That person will go mad, that who are these people, why they are slapping me, and that will be my revenge. Right? Anyways, right? So later on I came to know that this was nothing but guerrilla warfare tactics. Right? So that person will be in awe, shock, right? And awe means overwhelming. Ye kya hai? Matlab, suddenly what happened, right? Shock and awe, right? Anyway, Germans, they also use this in World War II, their strategy of blitzkrieg, right? Very fast movement of the army in motorized divisions, right? That is not on foot but through trucks and through tanks, right? At the ground, first the air force will come, right? Do huge amount of bombing, trimam, and suddenly at the ground level, then the ground infantry, they'll move in motorized divisions, right? So therefore the German army was not stronger than the French army, but still they were able to defeat France in the Second World War with the help of this blitzkrieg, and this blitzkrieg gave very, very quick victories to the Germans, right? So therefore this Napoleon, so this is 1939 to 1945, Napoleon was there until 1815, from 1797 until 1815, right? Napoleon also, for example, Napoleon will not stop. So people, they write about Napoleon, कि आदमी पागल है, क्या पागल है? ठीक है, विद टीयर्स इन द आईज. ऐसे थोड़ी होता है. है बचपन में फ्रेंच पीपल आर सेइंग कि बचपन में वी यूज्ड टू वॉच महाभारत, राइट, एंड देयर वी यूज्ड टू सी दैट इन द मॉर्निंग, राइट, पीपल आर प्रिपेयर्ड. ओके, फर्स्ट announcement is done that now war begins. Then we used to fight. Then lunch break was also there, right, and in the evening also, right, so therefore timely sleep. Then again next day, right, this is how traditional wars are fought. ये देखो Napoleon, he attacks in the morning, he attacks in the daytime, he attacks in the evening. When we think that in the evening he must be tired, then he continues to attack through the night. He attacks when it rains, he attacks when it snows. Then we think that he will be tired, but he still attacks. He attacks continuously for weeks. Then we think that finally he was tired, he'll still attack. पागल है क्या आदमी? Right. So therefore creating fast movement. Napoleon used to have lunch while on his horse. उतरता भी नहीं था. घोड़ा चलता चला जा रहा, खाना खाता जा रहा. Right. This kind of scenario. Right. So therefore enemy is thinking that Napoleon will reach me in 2 weeks. Napoleon is there in 1 week. अभी तो हम कपड़े पहन रहे थे, अभी तो पैंट ऊपर ही किया था, नेपोलियन आ गया. हाउ विल यू फाइट? देयर इज ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ टेंशन. सरप्राइज अटैक, राइट. नेपोलियन इज कॉल्ड, फॉर एग्जांपल फ्रॉम द यूरोपियन पर्सपेक्टिव, नेपोलियन इज कॉल्ड द फर्स्ट मॉडर्न मिलिट्री जनरल, एंड इंस्पिरेशन इज टेकन फ्रॉम नेपोलियन बाय हिटलर थ्रू हिज ब्लिट्जक्रीग, राइट. शॉक एंड नो, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, राइट. सो दैट इज व्हाट इज देयर. एनीवेज, तो after Kargil war we realized that although the Indian army is superior to the Pakistani army, but to mobilize the army it takes weeks, and by that time majority of the war is over. So therefore, as part of the there was this review committee which was set up after Kargil. As part of those reforms, right, so obviously details are secret, but in the as UPSC aspirants we studied that Indian military, it changed its strategy so that army can be mobilized at a fast pace. So see, faster mobilization of army and faster movement of the army is very, 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 very crucial and important part of military warfare, right. So anyways, so that is it. Next point item, the navy was modernized. The navy was modernized with help of French. The navy was modernized with help of French. The navy was modernized with help of French. With help of French. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के. In exchange for money. In exchange for money. Plus, in exchange for money, plus Britain-France rivalry, plus Britain-France rivalry, in exchange for money, plus Britain-France rivalry, plus Britain-France rivalry, plus even after removal of French, even after removal of French, even after removal of French military, even after removal of French military strength, even after removal of French military strength by 1763, even after removal of French military strength by 1763, many French commanders stayed back. Many French commanders stayed back. Many French commanders stayed back and were hired by Indian rulers. And were hired by Indian rulers to modernize their army. Many French commanders stayed back and were hired by Indian rulers to modernize their army. Brackets closed. Brackets closed. Many French commanders stayed back and were hired by Indian rulers to modernize their army. Brackets closed. So therefore, as a beginner, as a student, we tend to get confused. Here, at times we study that Mahatma Sindhya, his army's military general was a French person. Hyderabad army was handled by the French. तो चक्कर क्या है? So basically, there were these people who were like mercenaries, right? That is, you give them money and they are willing to fight. So we'll later on discuss that there was the Britain-France rivalry which was there, right? And by 1763. 3 Carnatic wars are being fought, right? And the French, they are being demolished, right? However, the French military strength as such is zero, but there are many French commanders and who find business opportunities or who find earning money opportunities, plus who are anti-British also. This nationalism is also there ki hame hara diya, so we need to take some kind of revenge. So therefore these people, they were hired by many of the Indian rulers. Here European military tactics, they are very strong, right? So can you do some organizational reforms? Can you help us in buying better technology so that we are able to become militarily stronger, right? So therefore many of the French commanders, they were assisting the Indian rulers, right? So therefore when we say that army was your navy was modernized with the help of the French, so therefore till before 1763 the French, they are helping the Indian rulers to develop good relationship with the Indian rulers, so that the Indian rulers are anti-British and pro-France, right? And after 1763 this phenomenon that French commanders staying back and helping the Indian rulers modernize their military, including army and navy, right? तो उस प्रकार से मतलब वो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के जस्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ एक्सप्लेनेशन या अंडरस्टैंडिंग लिखवाया है, ठीक. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, write down a question. Why Marathas could not establish an all India empire? Why Marathas could not establish an all India empire? Why Marathas could not establish an all India empire? Why Marathas could not establish an all India empire? देखो हाउ शुड योर माइंड वर्क, राइट भाई, जैसे ऑल इंडिया एम्पायर, ठीक है. सो योर माइंड शुड वर्क दैट सी, सिंस यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑल इंडिया एम्पायर, देन वन फोकस शुड बी ऑन फॉरेन पॉलिसी. Foreign policy will include diplomacy as well as it will include war, right? So because you're talking about establishing an all India empire, so what was the policy of the Marathas towards the other kingdoms of India, right, including war? And second component आता है कि भाई something which is internal to them, something which is internal to them, right? So with respect to foreign policy, for example, we can mention that the Marathas' foreign policy was of, for example, loot and plunder, right? That is plunder karna. Second was extracting tributes. Example, extracting chauth, Sardeshmukhi, etc., extracting tributes. And once by payment of chauth, the state is economically weakened and it is no more able to pay chauth, then to annex it. So this leads to economic weakness, and then you basically annex. So this was your policy. However, this policy, it had a negative. And the negative was that when the third battle of Panipat 1761 took place, Marathas, they could not find favors with any of the Indian power because of this policy. That you continuously kept on attacking us, you continuously kept on harassing us, so therefore we are not with you, we are staying neutral. And therefore with respect to war, with respect to foreign policy, this wala part tells us that how the Marathas, they built from Savrajya, they expanded to Samrajya, right? They became the top power. And this part tells us that why they could not establish a all India empire. Because third battle of Panipat was a huge military defeat. Important leaders are also dying, right? Now, second component is when you say all India empire, so internal means ruling. Internally you should also be strong. To be strong in front of the world, you should be strong internally also, right? So many of the times it happens. We are studying for the UPSC, we are in the outside world, but our parents keep on creating pressure by calling us. हाँ कितना हुआ? एक चैप्टर हो गया? हाँ 2 चैप्टर हो गया? अरे भाई पढ़ने दो यार, है कितना हो गया? ये वाला प्रीलिम्स दे रहा है ना तू, ठीक है? क्या चल रहा है? अरे भाई तुम अपना काम करो भाई, थोड़ा फेथ वेथ दिखा दो, right? करनी, right? So therefore, or if some internally if you are weak, then externally you are also going to be weak, right? For example, some students getting calls कि आज मम्मी पापा की लड़ाई हो गई, right? Some student getting calls कि आज घर में क्या है, तो कुछ और chaos हो गया, कुछ और बवाल कट गया आज, right? So you're getting phones that some family dispute is there, right? All of these things, they create internal weakness, which basically make us weak on the outside, right? So therefore, in the mind, every student is fighting some own civil war, and at the same time, on the outside, he or she is expected to be strong, fighting UPSC, right? So therefore, those students whose parents they do not call, those students whose parents they trust, right? Consider yourself very, very lucky. Those students whose parents do not create pressure, those parents who have given you license to fail, consider yourself extremely, extremely lucky, and do not let it go away. Prove your worth to your parents, right? For example, why I was totally surprised when I was preparing for IIT. This thing was there. मतलब जिद होनी चाहिए, बस the only thing is there. So I like भी करना तो IIT है, ठीक है, I have to do IIT, right? Obviously, I will not clear in my first attempt, so therefore I'll give another attempt, right? This kind of scenario was there. So therefore, every student was giving AIEEE, right? IIT, etc., etc. I asked my father, father, if I go and give AIEEE exam, then because I have to prepare for that also, थोड़ा बहुत तो externally prepare करना होगा outside of the IIT domain. So therefore, my 1 week or 2 weeks they will go into that, and that will hurt my IIT preparation. So you tell me what to do, right? And I have never come among the top 10 in my school life at all. That means there is no evidence in front of my father which will tell him that this person can clear IIT. No evidence at all. No evidence at all. ठीक है, अपने तो पेरेंट टीचर्स मीटिंग में यही होता था दैट इफ इन एनी पेरेंट टीचर्स मीटिंग दिस टीचर इज नॉट कंप्लेनिंग अबाउट मी, देन माय मॉम विल पुश द टीचर टू टेल समथिंग नेगेटिव अबाउट मी, right? So first and in most of the parent teachers meeting, right, after coming back to home, some slaps or something like this will be there, right? Mother used to be suspicious that why the teacher is not saying anything wrong this time, right? This kind of scenario used to be there, right? So therefore my father told me, so what do you want? मैंने कहा आप बताओ क्या करूं? तो फादर समझ गए, फादर कहते ठीक है, डोंट गिव AIEEE, यार गिव ओनली IIT, right? He gave me license to fail. He was with me psychologically, he was with me. यार कोई टेंशन नहीं है, ठीक है, ये अलग बात है, उस टाइम पे 1-2 लगा भी रखे थे पापा ने, लिटिल, बट फादर इज लाइक नो प्रॉब्लम, आई विद यू, इफ यू वांट टू परस्यू योर ड्रीम, आई एम विद यू, डोंट वरी. He also knows that chances of success are literally 0. But he has given me license to fail. So if your parents, if your family, if they give you license to fail, then you become dangerous for the world. And therefore your parents, they are doing self-harm to the family if they do not trust you and if they do not give you license to fail. If you have the license to fail from your family, you are very, very dangerous for the world. Because I cleared UPSC, I cleared IIT in my first attempt, and I was the only one to clear IIT in my first attempt. And all of those toppers who came top for 14 years, from LKG till class 12th, right? They were like, they could not, right? So therefore, by chance I was able to, right? So therefore, this kind of, why? Because parents, they gave license to fail, right? So therefore, that is very, very important. So even if your parents, if they are putting extra pressure on you through your mother or through someone, through some sibling, tell them that I want license to fail. At least in 2 attempts, I need license to fail. It's not that you will be not able to clear in first attempt. The idea is if you have license to fail, then you have greatest chance of success, right? One of the biggest thing is, what will my parents say? Even if we are not, it is one of the biggest thing which is in the mind, that what समाज क्या कहेगा. Your parents would say, अरे समाज को मैं देख लूंगा, तो अपना काम कर, समाज क्या कहेगा, चप्पल निकालो, मानो समाज. If such parents are there, then it is very, very good. If such parents are there, वो तेरी मौसी की बेटी की, those parents who keep on comparing you, that's not right. That's negative way of motivating. That can work, but it's not the number one way of motivating. Anyways, right? Internally, you need to be strong to be externally strong, right? And we know that after the A, one component was there, institutional decline was there. That is, initially the power was with Chhatrapati, right? By the time period of 1749, the power was with Peshwa. And by the time period of 1775, when Infant Madhavrao II was there, power was with Minister of Peshwa. So therefore, you see, institutional decline is increasing. Iska impact ye hai that factionalism will increase, right? Factionalism will increase. Why? Because imagine today I am teaching. Let's say I am Chhatrapati. things are going fine. Let's say I find a student who is very, very brilliant. I have some other engagement also. So therefore in the next class I say that you are going to teach. Right? If she comes here in the next class to teach, you guys will like, तेरे पैसे थोड़ी दिए पढ़ने के, टीचर से पढ़ना है, तेरे से थोड़ी पढ़ना है, who are you? कल तक तो हमारे साथ बैठी हुई थी, right? अब तू पढ़ाएगी. Now if her personality is great, if you allow her 15 minutes and she is able to mesmerize you with her knowledge, then you will still okay, चलो ठीक है, ठीक पढ़ा रही है, right? That means it becomes more personality oriented. Imagine after that, the support staff, right? They come, let's say the guards come, and they start teaching you, right? Institutional wise, they are lower, right? Fine, you are now more infighting will be there. कि अभी ये कहां से आ गया, अब ये पढ़ाएंगे, है? विजनाइज में चल रहा है, ठीक, कोई पढ़ा रहा है, ठीक, there will be huge problem. But let's say even if he comes out to be a great, teacher, you'll still tolerate. But see, chances of opposition will be very, very high as the institutional decline, which is the entity which is, holding power, right? So if the decline is taking place, chances of infighting opposition will increase. At the level of Chhatrapati is alone. He has at max his family to take care of with respect to who is opposing him. At the level of Peshwa's family plus Maratha Sardars plus other 7 ministers. See, so many entities are there who can oppose him. कि भाई तू कहां से आ गया? Why should you be the power holder? At level of minister of Peshwa, imagine the compounding, right? उसके ऊपर तो बहुत सारे institutionally powerful लोग हैं, right? So therefore you see the chances of factionalism will increase and the system is becoming more and more personality, oriented. If personality is good, then somehow these challenges can be overcome, right? If personality is bad, then problem will be there, right? And after the third battle of Panipat, this factionalism further increased. Why? Because now the personality of the Peshwa, etc., it was not as strong because inexperienced Peshwas, they came into existence, came to power. Young Madhav Rao, 1761-72. Younger Narayan Rao, 1772-73. Then Raghunath Rao, able, but factionalism of another kind, getting Narayan Rao killed. Infant Madhav Rao too. So you see, strong personalities are not there. And therefore, if you are internally weak, right, because of institutional decline, because of this thing, then you are going to be weak. Then, the point we mentioned that Maratha Empire was a confederacy. Chhatrapati or the Peshwa did not have any great authority in Samrajya. And when we zoom into Swarajya also, there also Vatan right holders are there who exert influence. So therefore, internally the center is not 100% powerful, and therefore because of these factors, Marathas, they could not establish the All India Empire. They could have. ये सारी चीजें ओवरकम हो सकती थी, but then this thing happened. Right? So उस प्रकार से, so write down, फिर इसको लिखने के बाद ही जाएंगे ब्रेक पे. Rise of Peshwa, first point, rise of Peshwa at expense. Rise of Peshwa at expense. Rise of Peshwa at expense of Chhatrapati. Rise of Peshwa at expense of Chhatrapati. At expense of Chhatrapati. Increased. अच्छा एक और, among your circle, if there is any friend who is, throwing some tantrum because his brother is IAS, or some relative is IPS, and he is trying to behave as if he is the IAS, वो समझ लो, ignore him totally. उसकी जिंदगी में इतनी टेंशन है, you cannot imagine. He has huge amount of tension. He is just overcoming that tension by showing this fake external confidence. In his home itself, a big, enemy is present. His parents will be telling him every day, तेरी बुआ का लड़का तो कर गया, तू क्या करेगा? His life is hell, or her life is hell, right? So therefore, if you do not have any precedent, that is also a very, very great thing. Parents BA, parents BA. Eldest on the side of mother also, on the side of mother, I'm the eldest among the next generation. On the side of the father, some seniors were there, but they did not do academically well. Right? And as a result, in my 10th class, when I got 81%, a cake was cut, party took place, happiness all around. Happiness. Parents are happy. Parents are happy. Mother is happy. I am happy. No tension in life. Nowadays, because of this comparison kida, sadly, some commit suicide because they got 96%. Comparison. So if you do not have any precedent, if you do not have any benchmark, consider yourself very lucky and don't feel jealous. मेरे साथ है ऐसे लोग. For 6 years they prepared for UPSC, but his sister was IPS, right? तो महफिल जमा के रहते थे. You know that, okay? You know, मतलब भोकाल बिल्कुल. Yeah. Anyways, so rise of Peshwa at expense of Chhatrapati increased chances of factionalism. Increased chances of factionalism. Increased chances of factionalism in Maratha polity. Increased chances of factionalism in Maratha polity. Increased chances of factionalism in Maratha polity. As strong Maratha Sardars asserted their autonomy. Strong Maratha Sardars asserted their autonomy. Strong Maratha Sardars asserted their autonomy more against the Peshwa. Asserted their autonomy more against the Peshwa. And देखिए, similarly, if you have failed in your first prelims, and you are appearing in your second prelims, you are better off than the person who has cleared the first prelims but failed in the mains. He has a benchmark of his own to meet, and just in case your second prelims you are also a failure, no change in life. But if he fails, पागल हो जाए, पागल, he'll go mad कि क्या हो गया, क्या गलत किया मैंने. ठीक. So precedents, they are wrong. Benchmark life में ना हो ना, मजा रहता है. ठीक है. So therefore, no tension. ठीक है. Be happy. Strong Maratha Sardars asserted their autonomy more against the Peshwa. Second point, third BOP 1761. Third BOP 1761. Third BOP 1761. Weakened the central authority. Third BOP 1761 weakened the central authority of Peshwa. Weakened the central authority of Peshwa. As Marathas lost important leaders, as Marathas lost important leaders, as Marathas lost important leaders, and now, young and inexperienced Peshwas came to power. And now, young and inexperienced Peshwas came to power. And now, young and inexperienced Peshwas came to power. Therefore, increasing factionalism. Therefore, increasing factionalism. Therefore, increasing factionalism. Next point. Succession disputes. Succession disputes. Increased factionalism. Succession disputes increased factionalism. Succession disputes increased factionalism. Full stop. RR 7374. Raghunath Rao 7374. Raghunath Rao 7374. got Narayan Rao 7273, got Narayan Rao 7273 killed in a conspiracy, got Narayan Rao 7273 killed in a conspiracy, killed in a conspiracy, and then he was himself overthrown, and then he was himself overthrown, and then he was himself overthrown in Bar Bhai conspiracy. Then he was himself overthrown in Bar Bhai conspiracy. In Bar Bhai conspiracy by Nana Fadnis / Fadnavis. Nana Fadnis / Fadnavis. An important minister in Peshwa's council. An important minister in Peshwa's council. An important minister in Peshwa's council. Next point. Factionalism led to British interference. Factionalism led to British interference in Maratha polity. Factionalism led to British interference in Maratha polity. British interference in Maratha polity. Example. First Anglo-Maratha War 1775-82. Example, First Anglo-Maratha War 1775-82 began. Example, First Anglo-Maratha War 1775-82 began when RR 7374 when RR 7374 went to EIC in Bombay for military help to regain Peshwaship. When RR 7374 went to EIC in Bombay for military help to regain Peshwaship. To regain Peshwaship. To regain Peshwaship. Full stop. Later. Second Anglo-Maratha War 1803-05 began. Later. Second Anglo-Maratha War 1803-05 began when Bajirao II, Second Anglo-Maratha War 1803-05 began when Bajirao II 9618 in bracket 1796-1818 when Bajirao II 9618 signed subsidiary alliance with EIC, signed subsidiary alliance with EIC to regain Peshwaship after he was defeated and removed by Holkar of Indore in 1802. After he was defeated and removed by Holkar of Indore, HOLKAR, Holkar of Indore in 1802. After he was defeated and removed by Holkar of Indore in 1802. Full stop. So see what we are trying to say. In the case of Raghunath Rao, we have understood. In the case of what you call as your Holkar of Indore. So much of infighting was there that a Maratha Sardar is attacking a Peshwa. and removing the Peshwa from the Peshwaship. Then, like father, like son, son Bajirao too, son of Raghunath Rao, 7374. He now went to the Britishers and signed subsidy alliance. In subsidy alliance, you become a junior partner of the Britishers. Your military and foreign policy comes under control of the Britishers. Right? So therefore, you see, it is factionalism, it is selfishness of becoming Peshwa that you are agreeing to give your military and your foreign policy control to the Britishers. कि बस मेरे को पेशवा बना दो, I am ready to become your junior. Right? So therefore, can we say that, and after this, to make him Peshwa, the second Anglo-Maratha war began from 1803 to 1805. Therefore, can we say that it is because of factionalism that Britishers are able to interfere in our thing? ठीक है, हमें तो अपनों ने लूटा, गैरों में कहा दम था, हमारी कश्ती वहां डूबी जहां पानी कम था. Why the Britishers? They were not able to establish an empire in China, but they were able to establish an empire in India. The reason was lack of a strong central authority. Reason was lack of a strong all India central authority. If third battle of Panipat 1761 had not taken place, probably India would not have been colonized by the Britishers, because that me had ensured that Marathas, they become the all India power, and therefore who is in power, that does not matter. But what matters is that do we have an all India level authority? Why? Because if we have all India level strong central authority, then factionalism is not there. Factionalism, internal factionalism, or factionalism between one Indian ruler and another Indian ruler, infighting is not there. Right? So you see, it is because of this particular factor. So in the case of China, Manchu dynasty was there, and yes, economically they looted China. Opium wars were also fought, but somehow they could not, or they did not, establish political power over China. Why? Because these Europeans, these Firangis, they were traders. Their primary objective was to earn money. If they got opportunity to establish political empire, they established. If they did not get the opportunity, then they limited themselves to earning money. They fought Opium War 1840-42 and 1856-60, two Opium Wars with China. Why? To extract this. Right? As simple as that. They were traders. They are traders, they are business minded people. But हाँ, अब ऐसा हो रहा भाई, अब बाजीराव तो खुद ही आ रहा है, रघुनाथ राव खुद ही आ रहा, तो फिर क्या करें? Right? If opportunity is there that Mysore versus Marathas versus Hyderabad is there, so fine, we are the ones which are providing them the opportunity to develop an alliance and defeat us one by one. ये तो किया उन्होंने. By 1799 they defeated Mysore. By 1799 they defeated Mysore. Now Mysore gone. Marathas and Hyderabad very happy that Mysore gone, our local rival. Right? Let us have wine with the Britishers. But then see what happens. Because of this internal factionalism, subsidy alliance signed in 1803. In second Anglo-Maratha war, Scindia is defeated, Maratha Sardars are defeated. So therefore, Marathas हार गए. बचा कुछ जो था वो थर्ड एंग्लो-मराठा वॉर में चला गया. Hyderabad, because of the fear, in 1798 itself, Hyderabad had signed subsidy alliance. So therefore, Indian rulers, they were, because had there been one Indian ruler, probably the Britishers, they would not have been able to get these opportunities. Right? तो उस वजह से. That's why it is also said that Britishers building an empire in India was by chance. By chance. Not as a matter of policy, but by chance. Opportunities kept on presenting themselves, they kept on taking the opportunities. Right? So, but their primary goal of coming to India was business. Right? So that is what is there. Next point, write down. Power could not be properly centralized. Power could not be properly centralized. Power could not be properly centralized. As Maratha Sardars, power could not be properly centralized, as Maratha Sardars always stayed autonomous. As Maratha Sardars always stayed autonomous. Maratha Sardars always stayed autonomous within Maratha Empire. Always stayed autonomous within Maratha Empire. plus within Swarajya also, plus within Swarajya also, within Swarajya also, local assemblies of Vatan right holders, within Swarajya also, local assemblies of Vatan right holders, within Swarajya also, local assemblies of Vatan right holders exerted influence, exerted influence, exerted influence and pressure, exerted influence and pressure on Peshwa, exerted influence and pressure on Peshwa. Full stop. Therefore, Maratha Empire was a confederacy. Therefore, Maratha Empire was a confederacy. Therefore, Maratha Empire was a confederacy. Where power was shared, where power was shared between Peshwa and Maratha Sardars, between Peshwa and Maratha Sardars. And proper centralized rule didn't exist. And proper centralized rule didn't exist. Full stop. In Samrajya also, in Samrajya, not all areas, in Samrajya, not all areas, in Samrajya, not all areas were brought under effective rule. In Samrajya, not all areas were brought under effective rule by Maratha Sardars. In Samrajya, all areas were not brought under effective rule by Maratha Sardars. And focus outside Maharashtra, and focus outside Maharashtra, mainly limited to, focus outside Maharashtra, mainly limited to, focus outside Maharashtra, mainly limited to extracting Chauth and Sardeshmukhi, mainly limited to extracting Chauth and Sardeshmukhi. Therefore, Marathas establishing central rule, therefore Marathas establishing central rule, therefore Marathas establishing central rule over whole of India, therefore Marathas establishing central rule over whole of India was a distant milestone. Marathas establishing central rule over whole of India was a distant milestone, especially after third BOP was a distant milestone, especially after third BOP 1761, especially after third BOP 1761. Full stop. Okay, so we'll meet after the break of 10 minutes, and after this we'll be talking about the Sikh state. Did Sardeshmukhi only applied on Deshmukhs or on other Zamindars also in Deccan? So basically, if within Maharashtra it will apply only on the Deshmukhs, right? And outside Maharashtra, the Marathas, they are taking Sardeshmukhi simply, that is, give us 1/10 of revenue. How that particular state collects that 1/10 of revenue, it is their wish, right? So therefore, Marathas, they are not in touch with the Deshmukhs of the other kingdoms to extract Sardeshmukhi. They are in touch, they only want 1/10 of the revenue, सामने वाला state जैसे भी collect करके दे. Were Scindia, Holkar, Gaikwad, Bhosle, those Sardars who kept switching sides? नहीं. They are the new independent Sardars who supported Shahu. It was the old Sardars, that is the previous Sardars, who kept on switching sides. In which manner we should read Vision IAS study material just after the topic is finished in the class, or in any other way? Yes, once you have mastered the topic which is there in the class, then you can study the Vision IAS material. Flexibility is there, you can study it later on also. And if you want to study it simultaneously, you can study it simultaneously also. Simultaneously is better, because then you can ask questions on the email and I can answer those questions if any doubts are coming. What about Watan Jagirdars in Jagirdari crisis? It is their Jagir permanently, it cannot be transferred, so therefore it is not part of the Jagirdari crisis. So please discuss sources for the optional history. Ayush, you can send me email and I will send you the sources for the history optional. So your class notes are enough for modern history, no book required like Spectrum. Yes, the class notes, they are enough. Combine them with the Vision IAS material and you're good to go. So did any commission from land revenue of Khalisa land went to primary zamindars or the intermediate zamindars? Yes, they are providing you a service. It does not matter whether this is Khalisa land where they have provided the service or it is the Jagirdari land where they have provided the service. If they have provided the service, they have to get money for it. So therefore zamindars, they will be earning from the Khalisa land as well because they are simply providing a service. Sir, why were Northern Sarkars called as such when they are located in somewhat eastern part of Deccan? Because they are in the north part of the overall Madras, जो modern Madras बना, or they are in the northern part of what you call as मतलब geography. We are talking the geographical part. So उस तरीके से मतलब exactly why थोड़ा सा Google search करना पड़ेगा. Is the Maratha Empire then a confederacy in the truest sense? Yes, it is a confederacy because the center it is weak and the नीचे वाले लोग जो हैं that is Peshwa and the Maratha Sardar, they are the ones which are powerful, right? Is the Maratha sir, could you please explain how Patils had concentration of power because they were accountable to Deshmukhs or Peshwa? They had concentration of power because they have the police power, they also have the revenue power, they also have the judicial powers with respect to the revenue disputes. Right, so therefore there is concentration of all of these powers at village level. मतलब एक ही बंदा है जिसके पास सारी powers हैं, and that's why the concentration of power. They can be accountable to any other person at the top, but still they have concentration of power. So can we use these links in the answer as you have given NBFCs, etc.? It depends. Not if the question is purely from history, then there is no point of wasting space by mentioning these things. But if the question is from current affairs, or if these are mainly for essay, and they're mainly for developing an understanding that how there is continuity between history and other things. So yes, if there is an essay, then you can use these things because that provides you enough space to write additional content. Historical content can be written in an essay also. But if purely history answer, then stick to history. Sir, what about the joint Hindu family? That will be under the ancient Hindu text. Was there any provision of license allocation in Mughal administration system? Yeah, there would be. Obviously, there has to be. Right? Explain Sharia law. I'm not an expert on the Islamic law, so I cannot explain you the Sharia law. It's simple that it is Islamic law. So what happened in the case when you try to join? What happened in the case when you tried to join UPSC? I tried to join UPSC. So therefore, by the time my family, they had developed a faith in me that this person is dangerous, he can do anything, right? So therefore, they supported me. They did not create any additional pressure even then in that case, right? They were like, we are with you, don't worry, right? So when I quit my job, I in fact asked my father that I am going to quit my job for preparing for, I put him on him that you want me to prepare for UPSC, although I wanted to, right? So if you want me to properly prepare for UPSC, then whatever salary that I am getting in my private job, you are going to give it to me as my monthly income. Only then I am going to properly prepare for UPSC. My father said yes. Obviously, he did not. Right? He only gave, whatever the pocket money could be there. But fine, at least psychologically he was there. Right? ये ऐसे ही करते थे मेरे साथ. For example, they told me that if you study hard for 10th class, we'll give you a car. I did not even get a cycle. Right? Maximum IITians clear UPSC. What is the strategy they use? It is not the IITians. See, the simple point is in India, the education system is all about rat race, right? Why did I why did I choose non-medical? Because the schooling system itself told me that, see, those students who get above 80% marks, only they can choose non-medical and medical. Those who get below 80% but above 70%, they can go for commerce. And those who get below 70%, they can go for humanities. So therefore, the system is itself telling me that good career opportunities are there if you go for non-medical. Right? So therefore, it does not, in Indian system, it does not matter that what is your aptitude. For example, if I had become an engineer, many buildings would have collapsed by now because my CGPA was 5.82. I know not even a C of civil engineering. Right? I am a civil engineer, right? But fake civil engineer, totally fake, right? Totally fake civil engineer. So aptitude does not matter. We are in a rat race. In India, there is a rat race, right? So it is not about IITian, and many of the IITians they fail also in UPSC. There are many of my friends who exhausted all of their attempts. They could not clear. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. There is no linkage. But it is a simple point that those people who are hard workers and those people who have above average IQ, they choose non-medical and medical, right? Then those very same people, they decide that, okay, we are going to give UPSC, right? And therefore they clear UPSC. It is not that because they are IITian, that's why they cleared UPSC. It's just that वो system ही ऐसा है कि जो hard working people हैं, they enter into the IIT and then they give UPSC. So it is nothing. It is nothing. If the system is such that if you tomorrow tell that you will be able to earn 1 lakh rupees per month by joining humanities, right after college, so people will start joining humanities and then those people will clear UPSC. तो ऐसा कोई linkage नहीं है. Why people have great respect about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and others not? नहीं ऐसा नहीं है. There is great respect for the Rajputs. There is great respect. But with respect to history, Chhatrapati Shivaji was the Sikh, they came late, right? But in 1600s, if there was one person who was the first person to challenge the authority of the Mughals, to challenge the authority of the Aurangzeb, it was Chhatrapati Shivaji, right? He was the first person. Also, he was very pro-people person. So, and so this kind of scenario, plus Hindu majority country was there, and he was very, very pro-Hindu also. For example, there are such examples where, let's say, some temple is destroyed, then Chhatrapati Shivaji is going outside of his kingdom with his army, right, and defeating that army and then building that temple. This kind of scenario, right? So therefore, that's why. For example, Bal Gangadhar Tilak started Shivaji festival in the year 1896. To celebrate coronation of Chhatrapati Shivaji as Chhatrapati, who upheld self-respect of Hindus. So this is a statement by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who upheld self-respect of Hindus. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak wanted to use religion and channelize that religious energy into political energy, right? So therefore he is using that Hindu card, he is using, right? But so anyways, so that is why Chhatrapati Shivaji, because he challenged Aurangzeb and he by 1705 his lineage was defeating Aurangzeb. So therefore, if there is one entity which could defeat Aurangzeb, right, it was Chhatrapati Shivaji, right? So therefore, that's why. So among the rebel states, it is the number one state. That's why he is this thing. So what is Anglo? The meaning of the word Anglo, it means English or British, right? So that is there. Sir, there was a system of Ashtapradhan under Maratha administration. What was that? Asht means 8. Pradhan means those who are important. Pradhan Mantri, important. Right, or Ashtapradhan means 8 ministers of the Chhatrapati's council. So Peshwa was one of the 8 ministers of the Chhatrapati's council. Peshwa was one of the 8 ministers of the Chhatrapati's council. Those 8 ministers, they were called Ashtapradhan. Right. Here Deshmukhs are there, means Mansab Das were not there. No, Mansab Das, they will be there. Mansab Das, they will be there. However, there is one point with respect to Prems. Chhatrapati Shivaji never gave any Jagir. Be it Tankha, be it Vatan. Shahuji Maharaj gave Tankha Jagirs called Saranjams, but never gave Vatan Jagir. And that also became one of the reasons for Maratha Sardars to go out of Swarajya. Maratha Sardars like, we want our own fiefdom, we want our own principality. Shahuji Maharaj is saying, I will not give you Vatan Jagir. So therefore, a Maratha Sardar cannot have within Swarajya any area where he can say that this is my family's land. And therefore the motivation ki let us go outside of Maharashtra so that we are able to have something for our own. Right. So Bhosle, Gaikwad, Sindhya, Holkar, they are building their own Vatan Jagirs in the form of Samrajya. Why? Because Swarajya में तो नहीं मिलेगी Vatan Jagir. तो बाहर जाके बना लेते हैं, कैसे लड़ते हैं और जमीन को बोलते हैं हमारे. Right. So that is the thing. So how Maratha Sardars originated? People like Maratha Sardar, they are always there, right? That is those people who have some leadership quality and those who have a private army, they are always there. They are also in the modern times, for example, Bahubalis, right? So therefore, non-state actors who can later on become state. China mein warlord era, 1916 to 1928 warlord era was there. Warlords are nothing but local Chinese Sardars, right? So therefore, those people who are outside the state but who are powerful, who are so basically. So that kind of scenario. So now write down the heading, Sikh state. So how to improve handwriting? या देखो अपने साथ तो कभी ये चला नहीं कर्सिव राइटिंग वाला सिस्टम, ठीक है. द टीचर्स दे टोल्ड दैट इफ यू डू कर्सिव राइटिंग योर राइटिंग विल इंप्रूव. माय राइटिंग इवन बिकेम मोर पैथेटिक, right? So therefore if you want to improve your handwriting, so therefore don't stress yourself, right? Focus on, मतलब अगर ऐसे space space करके लिखना है it's okay, right? Focus on मतलब शुरुआत में don't focus on the speed part, right? Try to focus and in the UPSC beautiful handwriting does not matter, legible handwriting होना चाहिए बस. That is the person should be able to understand what you have written. ऐसा नहीं वो जैसे वो डॉक्टर प्रिस्क्रिप्शन लिख देता है only chemist can understand, right? वैसा handwriting नहीं होना चाहिए, ठीक है. बट लेजिबल होना चाहिए. दैट इज द ओनली क्राइटेरिया विच इज देयर, राइट. सो दैट इज देयर, राइट. सो राइट डाउन सिख स्टेट. सिख स्टेट फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट. गुरु नानक देव जी, गुरु नानक देव जी, गुरु नानक देव जी सेट अप सिख पंथ. पंथ मीन्स लाइक a religious community. PANTH. Set up Sikh Panth around 16th century. Set up Sikh Panth around 16th century. Pappu is saying, I love you, sir. Then he is clarifying your teaching style. Both are accepted, Pappu, don't worry. Guru Nanak Dev Ji established Sikh Panth, set up Sikh Panth around 16th century. And was contemporary of Babur 2630. Was contemporary of Babur 2630. Contemporary means they lived in the same times. Contemporary of Babur 2630. Second point, Mughals began having problems. Mughals began having problems with the Sikh community. Mughals began having problems with Sikh community. देखिए हमेशा समझ के चलिए, if you are a politician, what will matter to you, number one is power, right? Other aspects they will be secondary. You might be a great follower of religion in your personal life, you might be deploying religion in your political life also, but religion will be secondary. Right? There will be such rare examples, there can be such examples, but there will be rare examples who for ideology give up their direct interest. Right? So for a businessman, number one is going to be profit. Right? So there would be rare businessman who because of religion or because of community or because of something else incurs economic losses. Why? Because his primary interest is profit motive. Right? Similarly for a what you call a peasant. So for peasant also his primary interest is earning a livelihood from that land, right? Similarly for a politician, that is a ruler, the primary focus will be by you can follow your own religion, it is fine, right? He can have some anti-religious policies, but big problem will happen when this religious community starts threatening the political power of that particular ruler. So initially they allowed the Sikh community to be there to prosper, but once gradually the size of the Sikh community grew, that means they got strength in form of numbers, and then when they started demanding political autonomy, that is we'll rule our region in our own manner, then the Mughals they started having major problem, right? So write down, Mughals began having problems with Sikh community when their size grew, when their size grew. When their size grew, and they demanded political autonomy, and they demanded political autonomy, and they demanded political autonomy. And they demanded political autonomy. अभी जैसे ओशो, ठीक है, ओशो went to US, right, and made some anti-US statements, right, promoted the religion of India, right, and then his size of his community grew. Richest people of the US, they became his followers. They were ready to give up their wealth for Osho. When Osho started making anti-politician statements, it is then that the US government cracked down upon him, built multiple cases against him. Controversy theory is also there that he was given slow poison also, something like this, right? So therefore, a state would always not like any political challenge to its supremacy. Right? Similarly, in India also, there was some example, I'm forgetting the name. Some religious guru was there, right? And I think it was in Haryana or someplace. And he basically he built a fortified structure. Huh? Ram Naimni, there was another one. नहीं, where the police was not able to enter. नहीं, the third was there. Right, so therefore you see the state, it finally acted. Rampal, right? Rampal. So therefore the state finally acted. Why? Because if someone is challenging the authority of the state, a non-state actor is challenging the authority of the state, right? Then it starts having a problem. Then the state starts having a problem, whichever the person is in power. This kind of scenario. So the same thing it is taking place. So write down example. अब ये किस तरीके से इन्होंने ओपोज किया तो हम पहले भी लिख चुके हैं. एग्जाम्पल, 9th गुरु तेग बहादुर. एग्जाम्पल, 9th गुरु तेग बहादुर executed in Delhi by AZ 5807 in 1675. Executed in Delhi by AZ 5807 in 1675. Full stop. Next point. Sikh wanted to establish their own state. Sikh wanted to establish their own state in and around Anantapur. In and around Anantapur. In Shivalik foothills. In Shivalik भी लिख सकते हो. In Shivalik foothills. In Shivalik foothills. In Shivalik foothills. Which was under Shivalik hill chiefs. Which was under Shivalik hill chiefs. Which was under Shivalik hill chiefs. In brackets, allies of ALLIES, allies of Mughals, which was under Shivalik hill chiefs. In brackets, ALLIES, allies of Mughals, allies of Mughals. So this is the sixth state which will ultimately come into existence, right? So Shivalik foothills, it is something here, right? So Anandpur Sahib, it is there, right? So map पे you can search Anandpur Lok Sabha constituency, it is also there. राइट सो उस तरीके से मैप में है नहीं अनंतपुर राइट. तो एनीवेज इज इट नियर अमृतसर? एनीवन फ्रॉम पंजाब? नियर अमृतसर राइट. सो देयरफॉर अमृतसर इट इज गिवन राइट. सो शिवालिक फुटहिल्स दे विल बी हियर राइट. सो ये हिमालय पूरा चल रहा है तो शिवालिक फुटहिल्स माने बिलो द हिल्स राइट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, आफ्टर दिस 10th गुरु गोविंद सिंह, आफ्टर दिस 10th गुरु गोविंद सिंह, आफ्टर दिस 10th गुरु गोविंद सिंह set up a brotherhood. After this 10th Guru Gobind Singh set up a brotherhood of Khalsa. Set up a brotherhood of Khalsa. 1699. 1699. Comma, a military organization. Comma, a military organization, KHALSA, Khalsa, comma, a military organization to defend Sikh Panth, a military organization to defend Sikh Panth from Mughals, a military organization to defend Sikh Panth from Mughals, and to achieve goal of Sikh state. And to achieve goal of Sikh state. And to achieve goal of Sikh state. So basically Khalsa was an organization which was, for example, let's say all of us are Sikh, right? And the Sikh Guru, he would conduct a ceremony and ask the people from the Sikh community they will have a choice that whether you want to join Khalsa. Once you join Khalsa, you'd have to follow some identity marks, that is the 5 Ks, right? For example, Kesh, Kada, Kangha, right? Kripan, Kacha, right? So therefore 5 Ks are there, right? So it is like a unique identity, which will give you a sense. Why do you follow unique identity? Because it gives you a sense that you are on a mission. Whenever you look in the mirror, whenever you look in the water, you will know that you are on a mission, right? So therefore symbolic thing it is there, right? And the ceremony through which you became part of Khalsa, in that ceremony, personally, the 10th Guru Gobind Singh Ji was himself present. And therefore, you get a sense of this purpose, that it is my Guru or my representative of my God, who has given me this particular task. And therefore, the motivation and the passion ki mujhe karna hi karna, I have to do this. Right? So therefore, a huge amount of prestige was there. Right? Who became members of the Khalsa? The Sikh community, it was divided into 2 parts. One were Khatris, right? And the others were Jats. Jats or Jats, Jats. Hindu Jats are also there, Sikh Jats are also there. The only difference it is of religion, right? Otherwise, they are the same. Occupation wise, they were peasants. Occupation wise, they were peasants, right? And the Jats, they had a military culture. Whereas the Khatris, they were traders. And the Khatri community also provided the Sikh gurus, right? For example, Guru Nanak Dev Ji was a Khatri, right? So this kind of scenario, it was there. Jats, they had a military culture, right? Why? Because if you look at the geography, they are present in this region, which has been subjected to multiple invasions since thousands of years, right? And therefore, they had this military culture of fighting, right? Even in the language of the Jats, you will see some kind of rudeness is there. Some kind of rudeness is there. And you feel that this person is not polite, right? You feel that why this person is so aggressive? Why this person wants to, physically hurt me, right? You feel a sense of fear, right? ऐसा मतलब कभी-कभी, be it a Sikh Jat or be it a Hindu Jat. Why? Similarly, same kind of characteristic you can find among Afghans also, right? Very rebellious nature, Afghans, right? For example, once I was there in the training during my IAS period, right? So some military component was there. Very tough to discipline the Afghans. Very rebellious, very autonomous, right? Totally indisciplined. They'll come into discipline only on their own will. Otherwise, tough to, control them, right? So this kind of, so why? Because it is the geography and this culture which is present. Even in the language you see, right? So language of the, Jats, be it Hindu Jat, be it Sikh Jat, thoda sa ek, this khadi boli bola jata hai, right? Which is like strong kind of, right? So it is like this kind of scenario, right? Usually, for example, if you have some friend as a Jat, he will say that first I'll slap you, then I'll talk, right? So therefore, is tarike se. ठीक है, तो मतलब this kind of scenario it is there. Why? Because the culture is such, the history is such, so many invasions have taken place, right? So therefore, outer this thing, makeup is very, this thing, aggressive, right? It has become, right? And that become part of the culture, right? So they had military culture, and therefore, who became part of the Khalsa army? Jats, right? They are the ones who became part of the Khalsa army, right? This kind of scenario. As a result, what happened? Anyone from the Sikh community? You are there? You? Anyone else from the Sikh community? You're from Punjab but not Sikh community. Anyone else? So can you tell me why why there was no 11th Guru? Huh? Why Guru Gobind Singh Ji decided that the Guru Granth Sahib will be having the authority and it will act as the permanent Guru, and why there should not be any individual as 11th Guru? हाँ, तो वो क्यों बोला ग्रंथ को लास्ट गुरु क्यों बोला ये बताना चाहता हूं. Because the Sikh community was dominated by the Khatris. Khatris, they were monetarily powerful, and Khatris community, it provided the gurus also to the Sikh gurus. The gurus, they came from the Khatri community. But now in the changed scenario, more importance was there of the Khalsa, right? That is the Jat community, and therefore this rivalry was there between the Khatri community and the Jat community. And now Jats are also important because military organization Khalsa is there, right? So therefore, to prevent future any kind of infighting, Guru Gobind Singh Ji decided that fine, there is not going to be 11th Guru, so that there is equality between the two communities of Jats and Khatris. हाँ जी, नहीं ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. हाँ, वो तो अब वो नाम वगैरह अलग अलग होते हैं. ऐसे तो फॉर एग्जांपल देयर आर मल्टीपल सरनेम्स हु आर बिलोंगिंग टू मल्टीपल कम्युनिटीज, right? There are multiple surnames which belong to multiple communities, right? So वो मैटर नहीं है, बट यहाँ पे इट लाइक उस जैसे अरोड़ा is a surname, but they are also Khatris, right, in the Punjabi community, right? So anyways, so this kind of scenario it was there to bring parity between the two communities, because now Khalsa was also important as the military organization. So therefore one entity is religiously important, it is monetarily important. The second entity, that is the Jats, they are militarily important. So therefore to prevent any conflict, it was decided that there will not be any 11th Guru, right? So this is what is being done, right? So write down. Sikh community was dominated by Khatris and Jats. Sikh community was dominated by Khatris and Jats. Sikh community was dominated by Khatris and Jats. Dash, Khatris were traders. Dash, Khatris were traders. And also Sikh Gurus. Khatris were traders, and also Sikh Gurus came from this community, and also Sikh Gurus came from this community. Came from this community. While Jats were peasants, while Jats were peasants, while Jats were peasants, and they had a military culture. Jats were peasants and they had a military culture. They had a military culture. Therefore, they dominated. Therefore, they dominated Khalsa army. Therefore, they dominated Khalsa army. Whose influence? Therefore, they dominated Khalsa army, whose influence increased gradually. They dominated Khalsa army, whose influence increased gradually. Full stop. Therefore, it was decided. Therefore, it was decided that there won't be 11th Guru. Therefore, it was decided that there won't be 11th Guru. And authority would lay, Lay, L-A-Y, and authority would lay in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And authority would lay in Guru Granth Sahib. Authority would lay in Guru Granth Sahib. Comma, so as to bring parity, P-A-R-I-T-Y, so as to bring parity. Parity means equality. So as to bring parity, P-A-R-I-T-Y, between two communities. So as to bring parity between two communities. So as to bring parity between two communities. Right? Ab now, एक जैसा pacifist policy. So earlier we had also discussed the release of Shahu 1949 from jail. So once Aurangzeb dies in Aurangzeb 5807 dies in 1707. So Bahadur Shah 0712 he's following diplomacy more, right? And therefore in 1707 he agreed that okay, Guru Gobind Singh Ji will give you Anandpur. But then he dished and allied with Shivalik hill chiefs again. And in a conspiracy, Guru Gobind Singh Ji was murdered. In a conspiracy, Guru Gobind Singh Ji was murdered in the year 1708. And after this, Banda Bahadur, he continued the rebellion by the Sikh. Right? And Banda Bahadur was successful in setting up his domination in small area around Patiala. However, it was not a conclusive victory. And ultimately, by the year 1715, Banda Bahadur was defeated and he was also imprisoned and beheaded in Delhi. So therefore, Farooq CR 1319 is responsible for beheading of Banda Bahadur, who is not the 11th Guru, but he is the political successor of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Right? This kind of scenario it is taking place. Why did he lose? Why? Because of Khatris. One of the reasons was Khatris. So what happened? Jhandar Shah 1213, when we discussed the Ijardari system, if you remember, there we wrote that Jhandar Shah 1213 introduced Ijardari system in Punjab and Bengal. Punjab. Right? And Ijardari system, it is a business opportunity for men of money, traders, that is merchants, money lenders. Khatris, they were traders, they were men of money, and it was a business opportunity. So therefore, they succumbed to the divide and rule policy of the Mughals. Right? They lured the Khatris by offering them Ijardari system. That see, this is a good business opportunity. Second point is they lured the Khatris by offering them mansabs, that will make you mansabdar, will give you political power. Till now you only had economic power, will give you political power also. Right? Plus the Khatri traders, see, trade will not take place in a small area around Patiala. Trade will take place across large lengths. Large, long journeys will take place. Trade is taking place all across India. Right? And they are feeling that conclusive victory, it is not there. The sixth state, it is not as huge as, it will be good for our trade. So therefore, they decided, see, businessman wants law and order stability. Businessman wants to do business. और उसको ये चाहिए कि either the sixth state should be decently big enough. Right, that is my first priority. But second priority ऐसा ना हो कि this much small sixth state is there and continuous wars are taking place and I'm not able to do my business. So therefore they wanted they shifted on the sides of they shifted their monetary support towards the Mughals. And without monetary support, you cannot have a strong army for long. And therefore, because of this particular reason, Banda Bahadur got defeated by 1715. Some Hindu Jats were also there. For example, Churaman Jat. Earlier he was supporting Banda Bahadur, but then also he also cut a deal with the Mughals. Mughals, they recognized him as the ruler and giving him more area, etc., etc. And accordingly he also dished. And therefore, because of these particular factors, Banda Bahadur got defeated. Right. So please write down. Next point. In 1707, after death of AZ 5807, in 1707, after death of AZ 5807, in 1707, after death of AZ 5807, comma, Bahadur Shah 0712, comma, Bahadur Shah 0712, Bahadur Shah 0712, agreed to give Anantapur, agreed to give Anantapur, but then again allied with Shivalik hill chiefs, but then again allied with Shivalik hill chiefs. And in 1708, Guru Gobind Singh, Guru Gobind Singh ji was murdered in a conspiracy. Guru Gobind Singh was murdered in a conspiracy. Murdered in a conspiracy. Next point. Now Banda Bahadur continued Sikh rebellion. Now Banda Bahadur continued Sikh rebellion. Now Banda Bahadur continued Sikh rebellion and was able to set up his rule in and around Patiala. And was able to set up his rule in and around Patiala. In and around Patiala. Was able to set up his rule in and around Patiala. Next point. By 1715, he got defeated because. By 1715, he got defeated because. By 1715, he got defeated because. First point, Khatri traders were turning against him. Khatri traders were turning against him. As their trade was getting hurt, Khatri traders were turning against him as their trade was getting hurt. As their trade was getting hurt. due to law and order instability, due to law and order instability, due to wars, due to law and order instability due to wars, law and order instability due to wars, semicolon plus, semicolon plus, some Hindu Jat zamidars, semicolon plus, some Hindu Jat zamidars like Churaman Jat, some Hindu Jat zamidars like Churaman Jat switched sides, some Hindu Jat zamidars like Churaman Jat switched sides, Churaman Jat switched, switch होता है switch, switched sides and allied with Mughals, switched sides and allied with Mughals, ALLIED, allied with Mughals. Next point, Jahandar Shah 1213, Jahandar Shah 1213, Jahandar Shah 1213 and Farooq Siyar, Jahandar Shah 1213 and Farooq Siyar 1319, Jahandar Shah 1213 and Farooq Siyar 1319 deployed divide and rule tactics. Jahandar Shah 1213 and Farooq Siyar 1319 deployed divide and rule tactics. Deployed divide and rule tactics. Full stop. Jahandar Shah 1213 introduced. Jahandar Shah 1213 introduced Ijaradari system in Punjab. Jahandar Shah 1213 introduced Ijaradari system in Punjab. Introduced Ijaradari system in Punjab. Ijaradari system in Punjab. And this attracted Khatri traders. And this attracted Khatri traders. And this attracted Khatri traders. As being an Ijaradar, was financially lucrative. As being an Ijaradar was financially lucrative. Being an Ijaradar was financially lucrative. Plus, Jahandar Shah 1213 and Farooq Siyar 1319 plus Jahandar Shah 1213 and Farooq Siyar 1319, Jahandar Shah 1213 and Farooq Siyar 1319 gave mansabs to Khatri traders, who now allied with Mughals, Next point, by 1715, Banda Bahadur surrendered. By 1715, Banda Bahadur surrendered. और surrender word यूज नहीं करना तो defeated आप बोल सकते हैं. By 1715, Banda Bahadur was defeated and executed in 1716. And executed in 1716. Right? So therefore you see the dream of the sixth state, it is weakening. But it does not mean that the sixth state, it came to an end. Sixth state in the sense the political power being there with the leaders of the Sikh community. Just that now, earlier there was this throne, right, on which Banda Bahadur, and before Banda Bahadur, the Sikh gurus, they were sitting. Right? Fight is going on whether they are able to establish which areas they are able to bring under their control, which they are not able to bring under their control. Right? So now, and below them, who was there? Below them, there were missiles. They were missles. Let's say missile 1, missile 2, missile 3, missile 4, and so on and so forth, missile n. What is the meaning of the word missile? Missile is like clan. Missile is like clan. Clan means on the basis of like extended family, right? So for example, what is your surname? Tripathi. So let's say Tripathi clan. So all the Tripathis belonging to one particular region, they are part of, that can be said to be part of clan. So like extended family based, members of a extended family. Kinship ties are there. Kins mane relatives, right? So clans, right? And so therefore these missiles were basically clans, right? And members of these missiles, they will be peasants also, they will be traders also, they will be fighters also. And the missile is going to have a head of a family. Jisko we can say head of the missile or missile chief, right? So therefore, under the Guru, there were these missiles, right? And many of these missile members, they were fighters. And this is how the Sikh, they were fighting. Plus, Khalsa army, specialized unit of Khalsa army was also introduced, right? Where, a special military organization, it is being set up. Don't be divided, fight as part of Khalsa army, this kind of scenario, right? So therefore, now you see what happens is that at the center, we don't have anyone now. Banda Bahadur is dead, right? But that does not mean that this missile is not controlling some territory, that this missile is not controlling some territory, that this missile is not controlling some territory. So therefore, yes, in the whole of Punjab, there is no one ruler. Above these missile chiefs, there is no one ruler, right? But ऐसा नहीं है that Sikh, they are not ruling any region. So therefore, these missiles are, imagine that there is no Peshwa, there is no Chhatrapati. Imagine only Samrajya is there under different Maratha Sardars. So therefore, we can call Bhonsle a missile chief of Bhonsle missile. We can call Gaikwad the missile chief of Gaikwad missile, right? So they are ruling different parts, but there is no central authority. There is no Chhatrapati. This kind of scenario came into existence, right? These people, they set up Dal Khalsa. Dal Khalsa will be having representatives of all of these missiles, right? In usual time, these people are simply ruling their areas. If there is any attack on them, let's say first Afghan invasion 1748, second Afghan invasion 1756, third Afghan invasion 1799, then through the mechanism of Dal Khalsa, all the missile chiefs, they'll come together and they'll fight together against the enemy, right? But otherwise, this is like a very weak center, and we can say that we are entering into a domain of confederation. Confederation is where the center is weak and the real power is with the lower units. Till the point of time Banda Bahadur was there, then it is not a confederation, but we can say a federation with some unitary bias. When 10th Guru Gobind Singh Ji is there, then we can say unitary structure, because he is a Guru. Right? Unitary structure means the center is very powerful. Federation means center is equally powerful with the states or with the lower units. Confederation means very weak center, and all the powers they are with the regional rulers. Right? So therefore, after Banda Bahadur, confederation kind of a system came into existence, that is rule of missiles. In 1770, there were 40 missiles. Right? So in a way, 40 Sikh chiefs were there who were ruling different parts of Punjab. Right? So this kind of scenario it is there. So please write down. Next point, rule of missiles. Rule of missiles. Rule of missiles. Dal Khalsa can be said like a Khap Panchayat hai, but Panchayat hai, yahan pe ruler hai with military power. Rule of missiles. First sub point, after 1715, after 1715, Sikh state did not come to an end. After 1715, Sikh state did not come to an end. Did not come to an end. काम अधूरा छोड़ दिया ना? क्यों? Because the Mughals, they were weak. Right? See, the Mughals, they were able to remove the head, but they were not so militarily powerful that they can complete the task, fight each and every missile Sardar, missile chief, and defeat all the missiles conclusively. So because the Mughals, they are weak, they are just managing to get rid of the head through some diplomacy, through this treachery, divide and rule tactics, but otherwise they are not able to comprehensively defeat the Sikh community militarily. That is why this structure is coming into existence. Had it been Aurangzeb or had it been some other strong central ruler with military might, probably the dream of the Sikh state would not have been achieved. Right? So write down, as the Mughal Empire was weak. After 1715, the Sikh state did not come to an end as the Mughal Empire was weak. As the Mughal Empire was weak. Full stop. Instead, now power got decentralized. Instead, now power got decentralized among missiles. Instead, now power got decentralized among missiles. Now power got decentralized among missiles. And a horizontal structure of polity. And a horizontal structure of polity. And a horizontal structure of polity / confederation came to exist. A horizontal structure of polity / confederation came to exist. Next point. Missiles were kinship based. Missiles were kinship based clans. Missiles were kinship based clans. Kins mane relatives. Kinship based clans headed by missile chiefs. Headed by missile chiefs. Headed by missile chiefs. Full stop. In 1770, there were 60, 40 मैंने गलत हुआ. In 1770 there were 60 missiles. In 1770 there were 60 missiles in Punjab. There were 60 missiles in Punjab. With Dal Khalsa at the head. Dal Khalsa at the head with a chosen leader. Dal Khalsa at the head with a chosen leader. Dal Khalsa at the head with a chosen leader. Right? Bracket में स्टार लगा के आप ये बना सकते हैं. That is Dal Khalsa and this. And there you can mention weak center. Very weak center. Very weak center. Dal Khalsa and नीचे missiles. Right, so that you are able to understand what we are writing. Next point, missiles got united. Missiles got united. Missiles got united at time of war. Missiles got united at time of war. Missiles got united at time of war. Example. During first Afghan invasion 1748. Example. During first Afghan invasion 1748 that failed. Example. During first Afghan invasion 1748 that failed. Comma, second Afghan invasion 1756. Second Afghan invasion 1756. Comma, third Afghan invasion 1799. Third Afghan invasion 1799. Third Afghan invasion 1799. अब देखिए क्या हुआ. थर्ड अफगान इन्वेजन करी थी जमन शाह ने. जमन शाह इज अ सक्सेसर ऑफ अहमद शाह अब्दाली. इन योर मैप ऑल्सो इट इज रिटन हेयर dominions of Zemon Shah, because the Britishers they cannot pronounce Zaman Shah, so therefore dominions of Zemon Shah, Zemaun, Zemon Shah, right? So this whole area, Kashmir is also there. So he is Ahmad Shah Abdali's successor, Zaman Shah, Zaman, right? Now in this time, what happened is, for example, let's say I am from one missile, you are from another missile, you are from another missile, right? All of these missiles are united and they are fighting. Let's say my missile is able to defeat a big part of the Zaman Shah's army, and my missile is also able to capture the territory which was under their control, right? And therefore I am becoming extra powerful, right? That means I am the person whose missile has dominated this war and whose missile has significantly defeated Zaman Shah's army in multiple areas, right? So therefore, as a result, I will emerge as a hero. I'll be looting their wealth also. I'll be having more arms also, right? So therefore, I am emerging extra powerful, and therefore, see, it is in the nature of the power to centralize itself. And finally, by the time period of third Afghan invasion, this man is rising, called Ranjit Singh. His name of his missile was Suker Chakya missile. And now he is becoming extra powerful because he is able to capture huge amount of territory, etc., defeat the Zaman Shah's army. And now he asked the other missile chiefs that, do you accept me as Maharaja or not? Right? Those who are not accepting, let me deal with them militarily. And those who are accepting, fine, let us be brothers in arms. So therefore, finally, in the game of throne, that throne is getting finally being occupied after Banda Bahadur. It is being occupied by Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and he becomes Maharaja in year 1801, and he will rule till 1839, providing a very strong, stable rule to the Sikh state, achieving the dream of a proper Sikh state, right? Maharaja Ranjit Singh 0139. He was so powerful that even the Britishers, they recognized him as a sovereign ruler. Right? He also respected the British military power, and he also said that, fine, I also respect you. Since you are also respecting me, right? And I have no claim on the territory which you are ruling, and you should have no claim on the territory which I am ruling. The Britishers, they say, yes, we recognize you, and therefore they entered into a military alliance also in Treaty of Amritsar 1809. Right? So therefore, he was so powerful that he was recognized by the Britishers. Britishers also thought that there is no point fighting with him. Right? So this kind of scenario. Right? So write down. After defeating third Afghan invasion of 1799, after defeating third Afghan invasion of 1799 of Zaman Shah, after defeating third Afghan invasion of 1799 of Zaman Shah, comma, there was rise of Ranjit Singh 0139. There was rise of Ranjit Singh 0139 in brackets 1801 to 39. 0139 of Suker Chakya missile. Of Suker Chakya missile. Of Suker Chakya missile. Who established dominance of Suker Chakya missile. Sukerchkia, Suker Chakya missile. Who established dominance over other missiles. Who established dominance over other missiles. Who established dominance over other missiles. And set up himself as ruler. And set up himself as ruler slash Maharaja of Sikh state. slash Maharaja of Sikh state in 1801. In 1801. In 1801. Next point. In 1801, he conquered Lahore. In 1801, he conquered Lahore. In 1801, he conquered Lahore. Plus in 1809, plus in 1809, conquered 5 Doabs. Conquered 5 Doabs. So these are two rivers. The land between the two rivers, it is called Doab. Ab means water. Ab, it means water. Doab, the land between two rivers, and it is usually very fertile. So 5 rivers. Panj means 5. Panj Ab, 5 rivers. Land of 5 rivers, Punjab. Right. So therefore, by 1809, he conquered 5 Doabs, that is Punjab. 5 Doabs, that is Punjab. And later conquered. And later conquered. And later conquered Multan and Kashmir. And later conquered Multan and Kashmir by removing Afghans. Later conquered Multan and Kashmir by removing. Later conquered Multan and Kashmir by removing Afghans. Full stop. Next point. Even EIC recognized. Even EIC slash British. Even EIC slash British recognized. Even EIC slash British recognized him as a sovereign ruler. Recognized him as a sovereign ruler. Recognized him as a sovereign ruler of Punjab. Recognized him as a sovereign ruler of Punjab. Under Treaty of Amritsar 1809. 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 Plus there was also a military alliance. Plus there was also a military alliance. Plus there was also a military alliance. With EIC under the treaty. With EIC under the treaty. With EIC under the treaty. Under the treaty. With EIC under the Treaty of Amritsar. है ना? राइट. देखिए ब्रिटिशर्स की पॉलिसी हम बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे. विल बी डिस्कसिंग द पॉलिसी ऑफ द ब्रिटिशर्स, बट देयर इज समथिंग विच यू कॉल एज पॉलिसी ऑफ रिंग फेंस. Something called policy of ring fence. What is the policy of ring fence? For example, this phone is there, right? This phone is there, right? So therefore, the cover which is around this phone, the screen guard which is there on this phone, this is like the buffer. This is like the buffer. If the phone falls, right, then the core, my core interest is the phone. It is protected by the buffer. It is protected by the buffer. So therefore, what is policy of ring fence? Your core interest is this particular piece of land that you have, but you build a fencing around this land so that the trespassers, they are not able to enter. In your homes nowadays in Delhi, ऐसा कांच लगा देते हैं ऐसा, right? Or barbed wires. Why? To protect your ring fencing. You are protecting your core. So what was the British policy of ring fence? We'll discuss it later also. But if, for example, this is my core part, this is the core part, and here there is this Punjab, and I expected that via Afghanistan, the Russians, they can enter, and they can tomorrow threaten India. Therefore, what do I want? I want my core to be protected. And how it will be protected? If I have a military alliance with Punjab. A, Punjab should be militarily strong. B, Punjab should be my friend, right? and C, I should have a military alliance with my friend Punjab. If that is there, so if the Russians, they want to capture me, first they have to deal with Punjab. And me and Punjab will fight together. Punjab is my ring fence. Right? This is called policy of ring fence. To build a buffer around the core. That is, to reach the core, first you have to fight the buffer. For example, North Korea, South Korea, China. China, it has communism. South Korea, it has capitalism. In capitalism, the common man is relatively more happy, more freedom is there. So if capitalism has to reach China, first it has to defeat communism in North Korea. And therefore North Korea is called a buffer state. North Korea is called buffer state between South Korea and China. Between South Korea and China. This kind of a scenario it is there. Right? So anyways, so this is like for China, this is like China, it has a military alliance with North Korea. So ये China का अपना policy of ring fence है. भाई China के लिए this is the core, and I'm protecting my core by having a military alliance with my neighbor. Right, this kind of scenario. So therefore policy of ring fence. बाद में भी discuss करेंगे. But this is why the Britishers, they are happy. Later on the Britishers, they will act. In 1845 and 1849 there will be two Anglo-Sikh wars. Why? Because what happened is that after 1839 weak rulers, they started coming. Weak rulers, they started coming. कहां पे? In the Sikh polity. खड़क सिंह के खड़कने से खड़कती हैं खिड़कियां, खिड़कियों के खड़कने से खड़कता है खड़क सिंह बाबा, you know, खड़क सिंह. Not a very strong ruler, not a very strong administrator. Right? Then infighting is taking place. Someone is murdering someone, then someone is murdering someone. Same factionalism. The systems which are personality based, they witness the same story. The things which happened in the Mughals after Aurangzeb 5807, those same things happened in the Marathas after 1761. The same things will take place in the Sikh polity after 1839. Right? And therefore now, ring fence, ये जो ring fence थी, right? ये टूट गई. Fence weak है. Fence is weak. Now if the Russians attack, they'll be easily able to defeat Punjab and reach me. So therefore, I want Punjab which is strong. I want a Punjab which is my friend. Strong enemy नहीं चाहिए. Strong plus friend. Strong and friendly Punjab. Right? And if that is not there, if either of the two is not there, then I have to take over myself so that my core is protected. I have to annex. And therefore, through the two Anglo-Sikh wars, 1845 and 1849, since the ring fence was weak, therefore, you yourself came there to protect the, just in case, so that I am heading. Right? This kind of scenario it was there. Right? तो उसको हम डिस्कस करेंगे when we discuss the rise of the East India Company. Right? But I wanted to give you a hint that भाई why the Britishers, they are recognizing him as a sovereign ruler of Punjab. उनको क्या मिल रहा है? उनको एक strong fence मिल रहा है अपने core के लिए. They are getting a strong buffer for their core. Right? This kind of scenario. Right? So anyways, write down last features of rule of RS 0139. Features of rule of Ranjit Singh, Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Features of rule of Maharaja Ranjit Singh 0139. Features of rule of Maharaja Ranjit Singh 0139. तो इनका जो रूल था वो थोड़ा सा मतलब जैसे मैग्नानिमस काइंड ऑफ रूल था. राइट? सो like he was a great diplomat, very intelligent, very militarily strong leader, right? And therefore you see in the Sikh polity there are multiple. He's a person who is opposite of the later Mughals. The later Mughals, they are weak personalities, they are not able to control the Mansabdars. Mansabdars are going berserk. Sayyid brothers, you know, killing Jandar Shah, defeating Jandar Shah, right? Then making Farooq Siyar a puppet, then killing Farooq Siyar, making Muhammad Shah a puppet, right, etc., right? So that means that these people, they are not able to control the Mansabdars. But Maharaja Ranjit Singh is opposite of this, right? He is very good at court politics. He knows how to deal with what, which are these entities in the Sikh court? You, commanders of Khalsa army, right? You feel that you are powerful, you are an important player. You are missile chiefs. You are Khatri traders. Right? You are Dogra Rajputs. Because Jammu was taken over. So Dogras of Jammu, they were also important. So therefore Maharaja Ranjit Singh balanced all of these competing power interests very effectively. Plus he was culturally magnanimous. For example, Sahajadhari Sikhs, who did not follow the 5Ks, who are known Khalsa Sikh, he did not target them. Other religions, they are allowed to prosper, they are allowed to continue. Right? So therefore, no such kind of anti-religious policy is there. Plus, monetarily also state is strong. Militarily state is strong. Monetarily also state is strong. 60% of land was 60% land was रॉयल लैंड. वहां पे खलीसा वर्ड नहीं यूज करेंगे बिकॉज वो इस्लामिक टाइप वर्ड हो जाता है. सो रॉयल लैंड, 60% लैंड वॉज रॉयल लैंड. So therefore the state is monetarily also powerful. Khatri traders, they enjoyed law and order stability. Trade flourished under the rule of, so Punjab, it flourished economically, militarily very, very well until the time period of 1839. That is until death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Until death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Right? बहुत अच्छी इनकी politics थी. For example, I'm not sure, I'm wrong, but 20 to 30. आज के टाइम पे यू आर नॉट एबल टू हैंडल वन. महाराजा रणजीत सिंह हैड 30 to 40 wives. In those times, marital alliances are there. Right? Bombay, what is the history of Bombay? The Britishers got Bombay in dowry from the Portuguese. Right? Marital alliances, burying the conflicts between the Britishers and the Portuguese. So therefore, he entered into marital alliances for political stability of Punjab polity. Political stability of Punjab polity. This kind of scenario. हाँ जी. Natural death ही बता. ठीक है. So therefore, this kind of scenario it is there. So please write down. Trade got boosted. बस लास्ट की 4-5 लाइन. Trade got boosted and there was law and order stability. Trade got boosted and there was law and order stability. मतलब भाई ऐसा है कि भाई महाराजा रंजीत सिंह की जब डेथ हो रही है 1839 में, तो खड़क सिंह इज देयर एंड खड़क सिंह सन इज ऑल्सो देयर, हु इज यंग मतलब जवान, प्लस अनदर सन of Maharaja Ranjit Singh is there, Dilip Singh, who is just 1 year old. ठीक है. So ऐसा मतलब गैप, एज गैप, बिकॉज ऑफ मैरिटल अलायंसेस. ठीक है ना. तो बाद में हम डिस्कस करेंगे कि इनएक्सपीरियंस रूलर इन द फॉर्म ऑफ, इनएक्सपीरियंस क्या मतलब, तो बच्चे ही दिलीप सिंह. राइट. और बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है. यू शुड वॉच दिस डॉक्यूमेंट्री कोहिनूर. राइट. सो किस पे है, अमेजॉन प्राइम पे या डिस्कवरी पे, कहीं पे. ठीक है. सो वेरी गुड. सो देयरफॉर यू सी द ट्रेचरी ऑफ द ब्रिटिशर्स, हाउ दे प्ले विद दिस द साइकी ऑफ दिस चाइल्ड. राइट. तो एनीवेज दैट इज देयर. सो मतलब ये सब हम डिस्कस करेंगे व्हेन वी डिस्कस द राइज ऑफ द ईसीआईसी. मैं आपको बस थोड़ा सा ट्रेलर दे दिया करके ताकि बाद में यू बिकम कंफर्टेबल. राइट. सो ट्रेड गॉट बूस्टेड एंड देयर वाज लॉ एंड ऑर्डर स्टेबिलिटी. सेकंड सब पॉइंट, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर स्टेबिलिटी. सेकंड सब पॉइंट, financially powerful state. Financially powerful state. Financially powerful state. As 60% of land, as 60% of land was royal land. 60% of land was royal land. एक और बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग उस कोहिनूर में, मतलब बस उसके बाद सीरियस हो जाएंगे, कंप्लीट करेंगे आपकी क्लास, बट वैसे मतलब in that documentary it is shown that Kohinoor, right, to whichever ruler it went, that ruler got ruined over a period of time. It only suited and matched Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Maharaja Ranjit Singh was the only occupier of the Kohinoor diamond, holder of the Kohinoor diamond, and he wore it as a bracelet, right? And it suited him because he grew in prosperity. He grew. right? One of the very charismatic and one of the very brilliant kings which were there, right? Just that he happened to be in a time कि Britishers they were already in power, right? Had such a personality been there in Punjab in the previous times, probably he could have done much more against the Britishers, right? So, anyways, write down now. Financially powerful state. Second point, financially powerful state. As 60% of land, लिख लिया हमने. Sorry. RS0139 maintained balance of power. RS0139 maintained balance of power. Maintained balance of power in court. Maintained balance of power in court effectively. Maintained balance of power in court effectively. Between Khalsa army commanders. Between Khalsa army commanders. Between Khalsa army commanders, comma Khatri traders. Khalsa army commanders, comma Khatri traders. Comma misl chiefs. Misl chiefs. CHIEFS. Misl chiefs. Misl chiefs. And Dogras of Jammu. Misl chiefs and Dogras of Jammu. Misl chiefs and Dogras of Jammu. Next point, he had an inclusive attitude. He had an inclusive attitude. He had an inclusive attitude towards non-Khalsa Sikhs. Towards non-Khalsa Sikhs. Towards non-Khalsa Sikhs. Therefore was culturally magnanimous. Therefore was culturally magnanimous. बड़े दिल वाला. Magnanimous. Therefore was culturally magnanimous. Therefore was culturally magnanimous. Last point, autonomy of villages was respected. 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 Right? So therefore in the next class we'll take up Jat kingdom. ठीक है, वो ज़्यादा important नहीं है, बहुत छोटा सा है, right? And after that Afghan kingdoms and then the already autonomous states. So thank you for your time. Some questions I'll deal. So can we go with other subjects? I mean, yeah, you can go with the other subjects, but preferable that you continue with one subject only. Sir, is it necessary to remember all the name of the kings and regional states? What was the power of the past? So, anyways, देखते हैं.